Chapter 11:07. At the thought of this, Yi Chen's eyes suddenly widened. A violent, murderous intent instantly erupted. Yi Chen had killed countless people, but he had never killed indiscriminately. Every person that Yi Chen killed had their own way of dying. What Yi Chen wanted to do to such people was very simple and very violent. That was to kill them all. Just as Yi Chen's violent, murderous intent began to erupt, the faces of the members of the hidden forces and their subordinates, who realized that the entrance to the secret realm could not be used, suddenly turned pale. F*CK, F*CK. The entrance to the secret realm still can't be used. What do we do? What do we do? Yi Chen has started to kill. Damn it, if I had known this would happen, I wouldn't have been greedy and become a subordinate of those F*King forces. Bastard. What's the F*King point of saying all this nonsense? Hurry up and think of a way. I don't want to die. I don't F*King want to die either. But I have no F*King choice. Right? Self-destruct. Attack each other. As long as we don't die in Yi Chen's hands, we'll be fine. Yes, yes. Hurry. Hurry up and do it. After a series of screams, the subordinates and members of the hidden forces suddenly realized that as long as they were not killed by Yi Chen's Godslayer, they would not die completely. At this moment, all the subordinates and members of the hidden forces either picked up the weapons in their hands without hesitation or were prepared to kill themselves. No one wanted to die, and the solo players were no exception. They also made the same choice. To them, not getting any response from Yi Chen was an extremely bad sign, and the result would most likely be the same as those members and subordinates of the hidden forces. They would eventually die in the hands of the Godslayer and completely say goodbye to the world. In the distance, Yi Chen, who had just killed Wang Buer, saw this and curled his lips in disdain. Want to self-destruct? Want to attack each other? Then escape death? That depends on whether I agree or not. At the thought of this, Yi Chen's mind moved, and a huge divine sense was instantly released. In the blink of an eye, all the players in the secret realm were restrained on the spot. In that instant, the movements of the 3 million players froze. What's going on? I can't move. I can't move either. Damn it, someone help me. If I help you, I won't be able to move either. Me too. After a short moment of panic, a scream suddenly rang out. Yi Chen. Yi Chen did it. Damn it, I knew I shouldn't have come to this mystic realm. I really shouldn't have come. Whoa, I don't want to die. Yi of Gojosian, please spare me. I have young and old people to take care of. Oh no, I mean old people and young people to take care of. I can't die. Yi of Gojosian, I was wrong. Please spare my life. As long as you don't kill me, I swear that I will always be loyal to you. Yi of Gojosian. No matter what you ask me to do, I won't refuse. I'm willing to be a slave too. Yi of Gojosian, please have mercy on me. As the 3 million players were unable to self-destruct, they were on the verge of breaking down and crying loudly. It was a spectacular sight. When Yi Chen saw this, he smiled coldly. The despicable nature of human nature was just this. At the thought of this, Yi Chen moved his feet and turned into a shadow. He shuttled back and forth among the 3 million players. Along with Yi Chen's silhouette, there were flashes of black spear light, as well as the dense sound of bodies being pierced. Every time the sound of bodies being pierced was heard, a black light would appear. It was the light of the God-Slayer devouring souls. Yi Chen had already decided to kill the 3 million players who had infiltrated the mystic realm. He wouldn't let a single one of them escape. Even if they cried and begged for mercy, no matter how miserable or pitiful they were, Yi Chen wouldn't waver at all. To Yi Chen, if he had to kill, he would kill. He wouldn't change his mind for anyone or be swayed by any reason. Time slowly passed, and more players were killed by Yi Chen. The screams and pleas of the players became sharper and sharper, and they became more and more terrified. After 10 minutes, the number of players who had died by Yi Chen's hands had reached 2 million. As far as the eye could see, the ground was littered with severed limbs, fresh blood, internal organs, and blood-stained brains. Such a brutal scene, and the brutal killing scene scared the remaining players out of their wits. They knew that Yi Chun was cruel, merciless, and merciless. They knew that. But knowing and seeing with their own eyes were two completely different concepts. Especially when they knew that Yi Chen's god-slaying spear could kill people and kill them completely. The torture that came from their senses and souls was enough to make them break down. Because soon it would be their turn. The merciless slaughter continued. When Yi Chun killed until there were only 10,000 people left, a person with a pale face finally screamed, "Brother Yi, Yi Yu of Gojoseon, I want to report the Ouyang family." The plan this time was organized by them. As soon as this player finished speaking, the other surviving players were all stunned. Then, their eyes lit up with hope. In the next second, the surviving players shouted, "Let's go! Wang clan!" The Wang clan also participated in the plan to plot against you. Most of the props were made by the Wang clan. Yi Yu of Gojoseon and the Zhang clan also participated in the plan to plot against you. Although Wang Bu'er's surname is Wang, he's a subordinate of the Zhang clan. Yi Yu of Gojoseon, I know the exact location of the Wang clan. Yi Yu of Gojoseon, I know the exact location of the Zhang clan. Yi Yu of Gojoseon, I know the exact location of the Ouyang family. The remaining players spoke one after another, fighting to be the first to speak. Towards the end, those who didn't have time to speak started cursing at the players who spoke first. When Yi Chun saw this, he curled his lips in disdain. Then, he moved his feet and started killing the remaining players again. But this time, Yi Chun purposely left the players who knew the exact location of the hidden powers alive. Noticing this, the players' eyes lit up. But before they could rejoice for more than 3 seconds, Yi Chun came in front of them. He lifted his right hand and pressed down the head of one of them. Soul Search. Chapter 1108. Soul Search could directly search all the memories of the user. It was an evil, forbidden technique, and using it would consume merit points. Yi Chun, who had been reborn, naturally knew this. However, to the current Yi Chun, the amount of contribution required to perform a soul search was just a drop in the ocean. He did not care about it at all. One had to know that Yi Chun's plan to go to war and plunder the heaven fortune of other countries was not part of his plan to ascend to immortality. After all, in Yi Chun's previous life, the World War would start 1 year later. By that time, Yi Chun would have completed his plan to ascend and ascended. Therefore, the foreign country's providence that Yi Chun obtained was an unexpected gain. Of course, it was undeniable that Yi Chun's unexpected gain had already surpassed the amount of providence that the Great Han Empire had. How could Yi Chun care about the providence that would be consumed when he searched the player's soul? Of course, even so, Yi Chun would not use this ability casually. After all, Yi Chun was walking the path of the Emperor of Providence. It was best not to consume any providence. However, for now, Yi Chun was not in the mood to continue wasting time with these players. He would find out what he wanted and kill them one by one. The rest would be to deal with the hidden forces that were targeting Yi Chun this time. Yi Chun's time was very precious. It was best not to waste it. As soon as Yi Chun finished speaking, a huge divine sense instantly surged into the mind of the player whose head was being pressed by Yi Chun. In the blink of an eye, it forcefully broke through the defense of the mind and grabbed the player's soul. In the next second, Yi Chun began to forcefully flip through the player's memories. In an instant, the eyes of the player who was being searched by Yi Chun started to roll back. Then, his body started to tremble uncontrollably. The other players who saw this scene were all stunned. Then they suddenly screamed, "Lord Yu of Beach, I'm willing to tell you, as long as you let me live. Lord Yu of Beach, spare me. I am willing to be your slave and never betray you. Lord Yu of Beach." This lowly one participated in it on purpose to inform you of the news. Although these players who wanted to betray their hidden forces in exchange for a chance to live didn't understand what Yi Chun meant by soul search, it didn't stop them from making inferences. To be more precise, they could already tell that Yi Chun's soul search was a spell that directly obtained the information that Yi Chun wanted to know. To them, this was no different from a dead end. This was because their bargaining chip with Yi Chun had completely lost its effect. Whether they said it or not, Yi Chun could force the answer out of them. After a few breaths, Yi Chun withdrew his hand for the top of the player's head. Then he stabbed out with his spear. With a poochie sound, the dark and thick God Slayer instantly pierced through the player's heart. With a bang sound, the player whose heart was pierced instantly exploded. Then, pieces of flesh and blood splattered all over the sky. At the same time, the God Slayer flashed with a black light and directly devoured the player's soul. Seeing this scene, the other players who wanted to rely on betraying their hidden forces to survive instantly turned pale. Their bodies also started to tremble violently. Fear, terror, and even despair appeared in their hearts at the same time. Then, they became stronger and stronger, more and more intense. Glancing at the players who were so scared that their faces turned pale, Yi Chun smiled coldly. Then, he pressed his left hand on one of the players' head again. Soul Search. After several soul searches, Yi Chun had obtained all the answers that he wanted to know. After casually stabbing the last player to death with his spear, Yi Chun's murderous intent suddenly exploded. Damn it, these damned hidden forces really haven't given up on their evil intentions. Not only do they want to scheme against me, but they also directly sent troops to attack my Samsara city in the real world. Then they can all go to hell. Thinking of this, Yi Chun flew out of the secret realm. The moment Yi Chun appeared, the players who were watching from afar looked at each other. Then they all took a few steps back in unison. Previously, a large group of players had entered the secret realm. But after the special storyline quest, Zerg Invasion, ended, no one came out. Now, Yi Chun had come out, but there was still no news from those players. What did this mean? It was very simple. Yi Chun had once again started a massacre. In the face of Yi Chun, no matter how bold the players were, they didn't dare to get too close to him. Although the players already knew that Yi Chun, the #1 player in the East and the strongest player in the world, wouldn't kill indiscriminately, no one dared to deliberately get close to Yi Chun after Yi Chun had started a massacre. After flying out of the secret realm, Yi Chun glanced at the army of players on the ground. Then, he flew straight to the Samsara Immortal City. After Yi Chun left, the endless army of players on the ground heaved a sigh of relief. Damn, that look from Yi Yu of Gojoseon just now almost made me wet my pants. That's right, you may not have felt it clearly because you were far away, but I really felt the brutal, cold, and merciless killing intent from Yi Yu of Gojoseon. At that moment, my hair stood on end. Don't be ridiculous. Do you think you're the only one who felt it? IF Asterisk King felt it too. Let's not talk about this. Do you think Yi Yu of Gojoseon will continue his massacre? Will he? You must be joking. How can he not? Don't you know Yi Yu of Gojoseon's character? Air, but if he continues his massacre, who else will Yi Yu of Gojoseon kill? Are you F Asterisk King stupid? The people in the world announcement who claimed that there were good things in the mission and that all the players would have a share were instigated by someone. No casual player would dare to do that. Do you understand? Then how will Yi Yu of Gojoseon find those people who are plotting against him? You're F Asterisk King asking me. Who should I ask? Anyway, I feel that Yi Yu of Gojoseon already has the answer. Luckily, I wasn't stupid enough to be persuaded by those idiots to enter the secret realm and participate in the Zerg Invasion special storyline mission. Otherwise, I would probably be dead by now. Me too. Anyway, listening to Yi Yu of Gojoseon is never wrong. That's how I feel. Nonsense. If you didn't listen to Yi Yu of Gojoseon, how could you reap so many benefits? If you didn't listen to Yi Yu of Gojoseon, how could you F Asterisk King survive until now? Stop talking nonsense. Let's hurry up and set off for Givit Megalopolis. I reckon that Givit Megalopolis will be conquered soon. Yes, this is serious business. The army of Eastern players discussed fervently because of Yi Chun's massacre. Towards the end of their discussion, they turned around and ran madly towards Givit Megalopolis in the Empire of Southeast Asia. Reincarnation Immortal City, Castellan's mansion. Yi Chun, who had just returned, immediately released his divine sense. Then, his face darkened. Mother of Asterisk Kerr, when did these bastards from the Empire of the Southeast capture so many burly men? Chapter 1109. After Yi Chun returned to the real world, he was ready to go offline and eliminate the hidden forces that were plotting against Samsara City. Who would have thought that as soon as he released his divine consciousness to check the results of the attack on Givik Colossal City, he saw the scene of a confrontation in Givik Colossal City, filled with corpses. On one side was the native army of the Empire of Southeast Asia, while on the other side was the army of the Samsara Immortal City. In front of the native army of the Empire of Southeast Asia, there were hundreds of thousands of native citizens of the Great Han Empire. This result was somewhat out of Yi Chun's expectations. This was because when Yi Chun spread out his spiritual sense to explore the Southeastern Empire, he didn't look at the prisons or slave markets at all. When he saw Yi Chun's gloomy face, Guojia hesitated for a moment before he bowed and said, "My lord, these are the people of the Great Han Empire. My lord, these people are indeed citizens of the Great Han Empire. You can't just abandon them. Otherwise, my lord's hegemony will be greatly impacted. We beseech the Lord's judgment." Tian Feng, Pang Tong, and Chun Kun simultaneously bowed to Yi Chun. Yi Chun looked at Guojia, Tian Feng, Chun Kun, and Pang Tong and said, "Don't worry about me. You don't have to worry that I, your lord, will be a muddle-headed ruler who doesn't care about the lives of the people. Although I, your lord, have killed countless people and want to dominate the world, I also know that the people are the foundation of the empire. Therefore, these people must be saved." As soon as Yi Chun said that, Jia Su, who was known as the Poison Warrior, stepped forward and bowed to Yi Chun. "My lord, those who achieve great things do not care about trifles." Guojia, Tian Feng, Chun Kun, and Pang Tong's expressions changed when they heard Jia Su's words. They did not like Jia Su's idea. After all, there were hundreds of thousands of Great Han Empire citizens. If they were to abandon them, it would be a huge blow to Yi Chun's reputation. Although this wouldn't cause Yi Chun's prestige and reputation to plummet, it would still cause the citizens of the Great Han Empire to feel distrust towards him. A ruler who could not gain the trust of the people. Even if he unified the world and sat on the 9 continents and 4 seas, it would only be a flash in the pan and would wither in an instant. While Guojia, Tian Feng, Chun Kun, and Pang Tong's expressions changed, Yi Chun let out a long sigh and looked at Jia Su. In the future, don't try to goad me into action and test me. If you can't do it, then you should give up. I, your lord, know this very well. At a glance, Jia Su's advice really did seem like he wanted Yi Chun to give up on the hundreds of thousands of citizens for the sake of hegemony. But as Jia Su's loyal lord, Yi Chun knew that this wasn't Jia Su's original intention. To be more precise, Jia Su wanted to tell Yi Chun that no matter who he treated, he couldn't be blindly merciful, especially when it came to war. If one were to be soft-hearted in battle, blindly benevolent, and then constantly compromise, then their grand ambitions would be nothing more than empty talk. It was precisely because Yi Chun understood Jia Su and knew that Jia Su, who was already loyal to him, would not carelessly give him advice to harm him. That was why he made such an accurate judgment. Yi Chun's words made Jia Su smile and bow to Yi Chun before standing properly. The corners of Guojia, Tian Feng, Chun Kun, and Pang Tong's mouths twitched when they saw this. They then rolled their eyes at Jia Su. Jia Su's maverick behavior only served to accentuate his talents. However, this was because he was stepping on the backs of Guojia, Tian Feng, Chun Kun, and Pang Tong. It would be strange if Guojia, Tian Feng, Chun Kun, and Pang Tong, who had already realized this, were in a good mood. Of course, they weren't really angry because of this. After all, Jia Su had good intentions. He didn't mean to mock Guojia, Tian Feng, Chun Kun, and Pang Tong. It should be known that if Yi Chun became more and more merciful for the people, it would not be a good thing for his subordinates or for the Samsara Empire in the near future. This was because as the Lord of Samsara Immortal City and the future Emperor of the Samsara Empire, Yi Chun had to maintain his original intention of ruling the world. He couldn't let anything affect this intention. Otherwise, the Samsara Immortal City and the Samsara Empire would never be able to truly rise and stand at the top of the myriad of worlds. Jiasu's calm face stiffened when he saw Guojia, Tian Feng, Chun Kun, and Pang Tong's disdainful looks. He laughed awkwardly and said, "Each of you will get a bottle of 100 Flowers wine this month." Guojia, Tian Feng, Chun Kun, and Pang Tong gave Jiasu a look that said, "At least you know what's good for you." Then they pretended not to hear or see anything and waited quietly for Yi Chen's orders. Yi Chen shook his head helplessly when he saw this. He then looked at the border city of the Empire of Southeast Asia, Givet Megalopolis. How dare a bunch of ants kidnap the people of the Han Dynasty? With this thought in mind, Yi Chen used his powerful divine consciousness to suppress the native soldiers of the Empire of Southeast Asia in Givet Megalopolis. At this moment, all the soldiers were imprisoned on the spot. Seeing this, Yi Chen directly transmitted his voice to Givet Megalopolis. "I am King Yu of the Great Han Empire. You have all been enslaved for so many years, and it is the Great Han Empire that has let you all down. Today, I am here to seek justice for all of you." Yi Chen's voice rang out in Givet Megalopolis like the voice of an immortal. At this moment, hundreds of thousands of people of the Han Dynasty were stunned, while the native soldiers of Givet Megalopolis turned ghastly pale. They couldn't move. They couldn't move at all. They couldn't even loosen their grip on the bowstring. Of course, this was not the point. The point was that Prince Yu of Han, who made them surrender at the sound of his voice, had not arrived, but his voice had resounded throughout the city. This was the means of an immortal. Previously, when they wanted to open the city and surrender, they were rejected by the army of the reincarnation immortal city, and almost half of them were killed mercilessly. That did not make them give up the idea of survival. Now, these defeated soldiers, who had gathered hundreds of thousands of people of the Han Dynasty in order to exchange for a chance to survive, were completely in despair. Could mortals fight against immortals? It was impossible. However, their survival instinct stimulated these native soldiers of the Empire of Southeast Asia to make a final struggle. "Spare my life, Yu of Beech, Your Excellency. I'm willing to be your slave and lead the way for you. Oh, dear Yu of Beech, Your Excellency, I'm sincerely surrendering to you. I don't want to be your enemy. Please spare my life. Yu of Beech, Your Excellency, I've never captured the people of the Great Han Empire, let alone tortured them. Really, I swear, please spare my life. Yu of Beech, Your Excellency, I've never captured the people of the Great Han Empire, nor have I tortured them. Please spare my life. I'm willing to be your ox, horse, slave, dog, whatever you want. Please spare my life." Chapter 11:10. The indigenous soldiers of the Empire of Southeast Asia shouted and begged for mercy. However, they could not move at all. The hundreds of thousands of citizens of the Great Han Empire in front of them finally regained their senses. In the next second, hundreds of thousands of citizens of the Great Han Empire knelt down in the direction of the reincarnation immortal city. "Thank you, Lord Yu of Beech, for rescuing us. Thank you, Lord Yu of Beech, sob, sob, sob. Thank you, Yu of Beech, great deity. I can finally return to my roots. Sob, sob, sob. Thank you, Yu of Beech, Lord of Beech. Thank you, Yu of Beech, Lord of Beech, Lord of Beech." Hundreds of thousands of people shouted one after another, and then began to cry bitterly. They were captured by the indigenous soldiers of the Empire of Southeast Asia from the border of the Great Han Empire. Some of them were enslaved by the Empire of Southeast Asia for a few years. Some of them were enslaved for more than 10 years. Some of them had white hair, and some of them were just bones. Initially, they were numb and lifeless. However, when the army of the reincarnation immortal city arrived and gathered them in the square of the Givet Megalopolis, hope was reignited in their eyes. However, they were also feeling bitter in their hearts at the same time. This was because they had become hostages. The army of the reincarnation immortal city did not back down because of the threat of the indigenous soldiers of the Empire of Southeast Asia. Although the indigenous soldiers of the Empire of Southeast Asia had killed many citizens of the Great Han Empire, the army of the reincarnation immortal city did not back down. Of course, these citizens were not resentful because of what the army of the reincarnation immortal city had done. This was because they knew that if the army of the reincarnation immortal city retreated or even left, their miserable fate would continue. In fact, it might even be worse. This was because the army of the reincarnation immortal city had killed a large number of soldiers of the Givet megalopolis. This was something that could be easily seen with just a glance. As far as the eye could see, Givet megalopolis was littered with corpses and blood. Even if they didn't see it with their own eyes, they could tell from the strong smell of blood that it was the result of a sea of corpses. Therefore, the indigenous soldiers of the Empire of Southeast Asia, who suffered a crushing defeat, would definitely vent their anger on these slaves after the war. This was also the reason why they begged the army of the reincarnation immortal city to kill all the indigenous soldiers of the Empire of Southeast Asia. After that, the commoners hoped that the soldiers of the reincarnation immortal city would bring their corpses back to the Great Han Dynasty. They didn't want to be tortured anymore. They didn't want to continue living a life worse than death. They didn't want to die in a foreign country. They wanted to return to their roots. However, the army of the reincarnation immortal city did not move. This result moved the hearts of the hundreds of thousands of citizens. At the same time, they were also filled with uncertainty about the future. However, just when they were at a loss and even thought that they would be tortured to death, the voice of you of Beach of the Great Han Empire came from the sky. After that, the indigenous soldiers of the Empire of Southeast Asia, who were torturing and enslaving them, couldn't move. They even begged for mercy and fear. At this moment, the hundreds of thousands of citizens of the Great Han Empire were finally able to confirm one thing. They were really saved, and they were saved by the immortal Prince of Han. How could the hundreds of thousands of citizens of the Great Han Empire, who had confirmed this result, not be moved? How could they not be excited? How could they not be moved? This was also the reason why these citizens were shouting at the top of their lungs. Their bodies were clearly very weak, and so were even on the verge of collapsing. However, they still shouted at the sky with gratitude from the bottom of their hearts. Although their words of gratitude weren't very elegant, they came from the bottom of their hearts and were extremely sincere. Reincarnation Immortal City, City Lord Mansion. When Yi Chun heard the grateful cries of the hundreds of thousands of citizens, a string in his heart was plucked. At this moment, the various pictures of the Chinese people that he had seen on the internet before the meteor fell once again appeared in Yi Chun's mind. At the same time, an extremely violent, murderous intent suddenly erupted from Yi Chun's body. These bastards all deserve to die. At the thought of this, Yi Chun looked straight at Zhao Yun, Dian Wei, Guan Yu, Zhang Fei, Huang Zhong, Li Yuanba, and the other generals who were ready to take action in Givet Megalopolis. He shouted, "Kill all the foreign countries and foreign races." As soon as Yi Chun finished speaking, Zhao Yun, Dian Wei, Guan Yu, Zhang Fei, Huang Zhong, and Li Yuanba, and the other generals all bowed to the reincarnation immortal island that was flying toward Givet Megalopolis. "Yes, my lord." At the same time, the hundreds of thousands of citizens who had just thanked Yi Chun were shocked. At this moment, the hundreds of thousands of citizens felt that they were about to get revenge for being enslaved and abused for many years. In the next second, the hundreds of thousands of citizens bowed in the direction of the reincarnation immortal island and said gratefully, "Thank you, Lord Yu of Beach, for helping us. Thank you, Lord Yu of Beach, for helping us." One after another, the shouts resounded in Givet Megalopolis and then soared into the sky. Yi Chun sighed secretly when he heard this. Then he looked at the citizens of Givet Megalopolis and asked through telepathy, "I am the Lord of the Reincarnation Immortal City. Are you willing to join the Reincarnation Immortal City? Are you willing to become my people?" As soon as Yi Chun finished speaking, the hundreds of thousands of citizens were stunned. Although the hundreds of thousands of citizens of the Great Han Empire in Givet Megalopolis had been rescued, they would only become refugees if they returned to the Great Han Empire. They would only be able to settle down when the local officials were willing to accept them and give them land. This process would take at least 1 or 2 years. At most, there would be no limit to it. In this way, they would have to live as refugees for at least 2 years. As citizens of the Great Han Empire, they knew very well what kind of life refugees led. Originally, they did not expect that Prince Yu of Han, who had rescued them, would help them solve these problems. They only wanted to return to the Great Han Empire as soon as possible. Even if they were to become refugees, it would be better than continuing to stay in the Empire of Southeast Asia. Who would have thought that Yu of Beech, Yi Chun of the Great Han Empire, would ask them if they would like to join the reincarnation Immortal City and become Yu of Beech, Yi Chun's people? This result was completely out of the expectations of the hundreds of thousands of citizens. One must know that this was a question from the Prince Yu of Han, the Prince Yu of Han, who had the power of an immortal. What were they? They were citizens of the Great Han Empire who had been enslaved by the foreign tribes for many years. Regardless of status or identity, it was a huge difference. How could they not be stunned? After a short moment of shock, the hundreds of thousands of citizens burst into thunderous cheers. "We are willing. Lord Yu of Beech, we are willing." At this moment, the hearts of the citizens were already filled with gratitude and gratitude. They felt like they were about to explode. This was because they knew that as long as they chose to follow Yu of Beech, Yi Chun, not only would they not have to suffer the hardships of being refugees, they would also be able to receive the care of Prince Yu of Han. Not many people in the Great Han Empire could have such good fortune. How could the citizens, who knew this very well, not be excited? How could they not be moved? How could they not agree? Chapter 11:11. Seeing that the people had agreed, Yi Chun gestured at the hundreds of thousands of people below him. "Rise!" Following this, the people of the Great Han Kingdom rose into the sky and flew into the reincarnation Immortal City within the time it took to brew a pot of tea. After that, Yi Chun ordered the army of the reincarnation Immortal City below him. "Kill them all. Leave no one alive." "Yes, my lord." The generals who received the order immediately organized the soldiers to attack. Even if the indigenous soldiers of the Empire of Southeast Asia were not rooted to the ground by Yi Chun, they would not be able to resist the army of the reincarnation Immortal City, let alone now that they were rooted to the ground. "Follow me and kill." Guan Yu, Zhang Fei, Zhao Yun, Dian Wei, Huang Zhong, Li Yuanba, and the other generals led their soldiers and charged into the army of the Empire of Southeast Asia. They started a one-sided massacre. The indigenous soldiers of the Empire of Southeast Asia were terrified. They wailed and begged the army of the reincarnation Immortal City for mercy. "Yi Yu of Gojoseon, please spare my life. I surrender. I'm willing to be a slave forever. Please don't kill me. My lord forced me to do this. I won't dare to do it again." However, before they could finish begging, the soldiers of the reincarnation Immortal City stabbed their sharp spears mercilessly. They effortlessly pierced through the bodies of the indigenous soldiers who were as stiff as statues and sent them flying. The faces of the native soldiers of the Empire of the Southeast were still filled with fear after being sent flying. Hot and bright red blood spurted out from their pierced bodies, reaching up to a height of several dozen feet. The cavalry of the reincarnation Immortal City swept through the enemy's formation like a raging gale. The corpses of the indigenous soldiers of the Empire of Southeast Asia were dragged into the rolling iron hooves and trampled into countless pieces of flesh and blood. The sound of killing filled the entire sky. Without any resistance, the army of the reincarnation Immortal City slaughtered very quickly. "Kill!" The army of the reincarnation Immortal City rampaged through the enemy's formation, as if there was no resistance. The air was filled with the pungent smell of blood, accompanied by the screams of the indigenous soldiers of the Empire of Southeast Asia. It was like a bloody hell. The entire city of Givit Megalopolis was stained with a layer of blood. The indigenous soldiers of the Empire of Southeast Asia were slaughtered without any resistance. Spears flashed, and heads and limbs flew everywhere. The huge Givit city had turned into a huge slaughterhouse. Countless piercing spear lights shredded everything in the city and cut off the lives of the natives of the Empire of the Southeast. They wailed. They were terrified. They were in despair. Never in their wildest dreams would they have imagined that Yi Chen's revenge would be so violent and cruel. No one was left alive. No matter how they begged for mercy, it was useless. Before they died, they let out unwilling and fearful cries. They regretted provoking the Great Han Empire, but there was no use in regretting it now. The spears of the reincarnation immortal city soldiers showed no mercy to them. The merciless massacre continued. The indigenous soldiers of the Empire of Southeast Asia in Givet Megalopolis were all killed in the blink of an eye. After the last indigenous soldier of Givet City was killed, a notification sounded in Yi Chen's ears. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for successfully destroying and occupying Givet City. Player Yi Chen is rewarded with X 100,000 points of Empire of Southeast Asia Providence. The world announcement was repeated 3 times, and the entire world channel exploded. F***CK. He took down Givet City so quickly, as expected of Yi Yu of Gojoseon. It seems like the Empire of Southeast Asia is in danger. The reincarnation immortal city is unstoppable. Yes, Yi Chen is indeed awesome. He's really proud of the East. Yi Laoda is mighty. Humph. Let's see if those monkeys from the Southeast continent still dare to be arrogant this time. If Yi Yu of Gojoseon continues to fight like this, he's going to conquer the entire world. I wonder if anyone in the world can stop Yi Yu of Gojoseon. At this time, the Eastern players who were watching the battle from afar were also shocked by the tragic scene in front of them. Seeing the tragic end of the monkeys from the Southeast continent, they were even more respectful of Yi Chen and did not dare to have any thoughts of rebellion. After taking over Givet Megalopolis, Yi Chen did not continue to advance. Instead, he chose to go offline. He wanted to uproot the 3 hidden forces that had plotted against him. Since not everyone would enter the game at the same time, he chose to do it in the real world in order to eliminate them completely. His first target was the Ouyang family in the Dream Cloud Mountains. According to the information that Yi Chen obtained from the Soul Search, the Ouyang family had a long history that had been passed down for almost 800 years. There were many powerful people in the past. Their base had always been in the Dream Cloud Mountains and was very hidden. Most people would not think that there was a huge family with tens of thousands of people hidden in the depths of the Dream Cloud Mountains. When Yi Chen arrived at the Dream Cloud Mountains, he realized that the Ouyang family seemed to have received news and was moving their entire family. Seeing the Ouyang family members running away from Tsangkwang in the valley, Yi Chen was enraged. These people were quite well informed. If I came a little later, wouldn't they have escaped? Thinking of this, Yi Chen sneered in the air. Puny Ouyang family, do you think you can escape so easily after plotting against me? Yi Chen's voice was very loud. The members of the Ouyang family, who were hurrying along, all stopped in their tracks and looked towards Yi Chen's direction. Yi Chen, I didn't expect you to come so quickly, a bald old man with a grizzled beard sighed when he saw Yi Chen. Then, he spoke with a dispirited expression. Old fart, it seems like you know why I'm here. Seeing the old man's appearance, Yi Chen guessed that he was the head of the Ouyang family. When the old man heard Yi Chen's question, he immediately replied, Yi Chen, since you're here, this old man admits defeat. You can kill or torture them as you please, but this matter has nothing to do with the younger generation of the Ouyang family. I hope you can be lenient and let them go. After the old man finished speaking, he looked as if he was ready to die. After hearing what he said, a cold light flashed in Yi Chen's eyes. He said coldly to the old man, Who do you think you are? Why do you have to talk to me about conditions? This old fart, after plotting against me, wants to use my life in exchange for everyone's safety? In your dreams. Chapter 11:12. Yi Chen, I know you're strong, but don't push it too far. We'll fight it out with you, and you won't have it easy either. The elder saw that Yi Chen wasn't going to let it go, and his expression turned cold. He tried to put on a brave front and tried to remain calm. Oh, I like to see what you're capable of." As Yi Chun spoke, the Godslayer was already floating next to him. "Oh no!" The elder saw the Godslayer and immediately shouted to his family members, "Quick, all saint-level generals, follow me and cover the retreat of the others." As soon as the elder finished speaking, he and the other saint-level generals of the Ouyang family flew into the air and surrounded Yi Chun. They knew that they were going to die, but for the sake of the continuation of the family bloodline, they had no choice but to delay Yi Chun and buy time for the younger members of the family to escape. "Oomph. You're overestimating yourselves." When Yi Chun saw them attacking, the Godslayer immediately attacked. Swoosh! In the next second, the Godslayer turned into a dark ray of light and pierced through the chest of the elder at an unbelievable speed. Arg! The elder spat out a mouthful of blood. He stared at Yi Chun in shock and reluctantly fell from the sky. "You are so cruel." The old man pointed his finger at Yi Chun as he fell, his eyes filled with bone-deep hatred. However, under the effect of the soul-devouring characteristic of the god-slaying spear, his life was completely cut off before he even touched the ground. He didn't expect that because of one wrong decision, the entire Ouyang family would be buried. After his body fell to the ground, his eyes were still wide open. He died with a grievance. After killing the elder, the Godslayer immediately began to slaughter the saint-level generals of the Ouyang family in the air. The god-slaying spear continued to move between them at an extremely fast speed, piercing terrifying bloody holes in the bodies of these saint-level generals. Wah wah wah. As a series of agonizing cries rang out in the air, a rain of blood continued to bloom in the air. One life after another was harvested mercilessly by the Godslayer. After these people died, even their souls were devoured by the soul-devouring spear, and they no longer had the chance to reincarnate. Seeing the tragic scene in the sky, the tens of thousands of Ouyang family members in the valley fled even faster. They were led by 10 saint-level generals and fled in 10 different directions. Some of the faster ones had already left the vicinity of the valley. How could Yi Chun let them escape just like that? He knew very well that if he didn't remove the roots when cutting the weeds, they would grow again when the spring breeze blew. Therefore, after dealing with the dozens of people in the air as quickly as possible, he immediately sent out 10 karmic flames of the red lotus towards the 10 fleeing groups. Phew! As soon as the 10 flames landed on the ground, they turned into a sea of fire and mercilessly swallowed the fleeing Ouyang family's troops. Ah wah wah wah. The raging fire rose with the wind and spread rapidly among the fleeing Ouyang clan. The Ouyang clan's disciples who were being burned by the fire were howling miserably one after another. The hellish scene at the scene was simply too horrible to look at. Yi Chun looked coldly at the Ouyang family members who were struggling in the sea of fire. His heart was calm. Since they dared to plot against him, they should be prepared to die. Yi Chun had never shown mercy to his enemies because he knew that being merciful to his enemies was being cruel to himself. After being reborn, Yi Chun had already seen through the fickleness of the world. There was no such thing as justice or justice in this world. There was only the law of the jungle, where the strong survived and the weak perished. He knew that even though these people looked pitiful, if he were to switch places with them now, they wouldn't let him live either. Therefore, he didn't have the slightest bit of mercy for these people. He had to kill all of them and not let a single one of them go. Yi Chun observed the sea of fire from the sky, paying attention to the fish that escaped the net. Those Ouyang clan disciples who had escaped the range of the flames didn't even have the time to celebrate before Yi Chun caught up with them. Then, a flame fell and burned them into charcoal. Wah! Yi Lao Da, have mercy. We didn't participate in the plot against you. Yi Chun, I beg you. As long as you spare my life, I'm willing to be your slave. Yi Chun, those things have nothing to do with me. Why do you have to kill innocent people? I beg you, please let us go. Some of the Ouyang family members who were surrounded by the flames knelt down in despair and kowtowed to Yi Chun in the sky, begging for mercy. Innocent? What a joke. Hearing their pleas, Yi Chun sneered. Since the beginning of the Eldritch Age game, No one was innocent in this world. Everyone had to make a choice in this chaotic world. It was either kill or be killed. Everything depended on one's strength. There was no reason to speak of. If he was the weaker party today, he would end up like them and be tortured to death. It seemed very barbaric and cruel, but it reflected the true nature of the world. Therefore, these people's pleas were futile in front of Yi-chun. After a cold snort, Yi-chun shot out a few more flames. Tragic cries came from the ground again. Yi-chun, I curse you to die a horrible death. F***ck your ancestors, Yi-chun. Sooner or later, you'll die on the streets. I'll be waiting for you down there, you damn demon, Yi-chun. I won't let you off even if I become a ghost. Seeing that their pleas were futile, the remaining members of the Ouyang family cursed and swore the most vicious curses they could think of before they died. The wind was howling and the fire was strong. The remaining members of the Ouyang family did not last long before they were all burned to ashes by the Red Lotus Hellfire. A gust of wind blew, scattering it all over the place. The Red Lotus Hellfire was so powerful that it even burned the weapons, armor, and storage equipment on these people. Yi-chun used one hand, and a crystal-clear card flew out from the huge pile of ashes. After getting the card, Yi-chun immediately saw the corresponding information. Item name: Supreme Grade Cross-Level Enemy Annihilation Card Effect. Use the Supreme Grade Cross-Level Enemy Annihilation card to instantly kill an enemy who is 3 realms higher than the user. Upper limit: Heaven Immortal. Note: use the Supreme Grade Cross-Level Enemy Annihilation card. This card is a one-time use item and will disappear after use. Remember not to waste it. Seeing this, Yi-chun's eyes suddenly widened. Damn, this Supreme Grade Cross-Level Enemy Annihilation card was really a little crazy. It could even kill an enemy who was 3 realms higher than the user in an instant. If his realm was lower, wouldn't he have been killed by the old man just now? This Ouyang family was really something. They could even get their hands on such a crazy thing. Chapter 11:13. But it was useless even if they had a foundation. In the end, they still fell into his hands. Yi-chun couldn't help but raise his eyebrows at this thought. He then looked directly at the members of the Ouyang family. After confirming that all the members of the Ouyang family had been killed, Yi-chun immediately left and flew toward his next target. At this moment, at the foot of a certain mountain in the east, in a majestic underground palace, an old man with an elegant temperament was sitting on a wooden armchair and sipping tea. A short servant with a dewy-looking face rushed in and reported to the old man. Alliance leader, this is bad. The Ouyang family, did they HM? When the old man saw the servant's nervous expression, he immediately asked, What happened to the Ouyang family? Tell me quickly. Hearing the old man's words, the servant trembled as he replied, Alliance leader, the Ouyang family has been completely annihilated. Not a single person is left alive. The elegant old man was shocked when he heard this. He immediately stood up from his chair and asked the servant in a low voice, How is this possible? Who has this ability? It's Yi-chun, the servant replied in horror. Damn it. Smack. The old man threw the teacup in his hand to the ground and said angrily, How did he move so quickly? Who leaked the news? Yi-chun hurried through the air and arrived at Tri-Mountain City in a short while. Tri-Mountain City had been a gathering place for merchants since ancient times. It was also the ancestral home of the Wang family. The Wang family had operated here for hundreds of years and had a solid foundation. They had a huge influence in Tri-Mountain City. At this moment, the Wang family patriarch was in the middle of making love with his 33rd concubine in his room when he suddenly heard urgent knocking on the door. Clang, clang, clang. Not good, patriarch. Something big has happened. The one who knocked on the door was the Wang family patriarch's most trusted aide. He looked flustered, and even his voice had changed. What's the matter? How can you be so flustered? What are you doing? The Wang clan head, who was interrupted, asked angrily with a hint of anger in his voice. Sensing his anger, the trusted aide outside the door had no choice but to immediately report the news to him. Clan leader, we just received a message from the headquarters. Yichen has already eliminated the Ouyang family. The Alliance Master wants all the families that participated in the plot against Yichen to flee immediately. The sooner the better. When the head of the Wang family heard this, he turned pale with fright. Ignoring the concubine in the room, he hurriedly put on his clothes and ran out. As soon as he opened the door, he bumped into his trusted aide. Aya! The trusted aide was knocked over by him and lost 2 of his front teeth. Go and inform the clansmen to leave this place as soon as possible. I'll make a move first. At this moment, the Wang family patriarch was like a frightened stray dog. He couldn't care less about his trusted aide who had been knocked over. After saying this, he disappeared without a trace. Yichen looked at this scene from the sky and scoffed at the Wang family patriarch's character. This Wang family patriarch was really afraid of death. In order to save his own life, he didn't care about anyone else and only cared about escaping. Although the head of the Ouyang family wasn't strong enough, he still used his life to buy time for his clansmen before he died. But this guy actually abandoned his entire clan in order to escape. His human nature was despicable to the extreme. The Wang family patriarch had just flown into the air and was about to leave the Wang family's mansion when a voice suddenly came from the sky. He was so frightened that he almost fell straight down. You're the Wang family patriarch? You're running so fast. Where are you going? Yichen stood in the air and looked at the Wang family patriarch who was frantically running away. He teased him playfully. You are... The Wang family patriarch looked at Yichen in the air and his heart trembled violently. He then asked. At this moment, Yichen was the only person in the world who could fly in the air. Even so, the Wang family patriarch still hoped that the person flying in the air wasn't Yichen, but someone else. Otherwise, the Wang family patriarch would probably be annihilated. It couldn't be helped. If someone else could do such a thing, Yichen, the #1 player, wouldn't be soft-hearted. What? You can't even recognize me? You guys just plotted against me not long ago. Have you forgotten so quickly? A cold light flashed in Yichen's eyes, and his tone became colder and colder. You're Yichen? The Wang family head pointed at Yichen, who was in the air, and said in a trembling voice, his face filled with terror. At this moment, his mood had hit rock bottom. He didn't expect that he would still be one step slower and bump into Yichen here. Although he was scared to death, his survival instinct drove him to do everything he could to get through this crisis safely. Yichen, listen to me. It wasn't my idea to plot against you. It was the Ouyang family patriarch who instigated me. This has nothing to do with me. The people I sent were just to warn you. The Wang family patriarch's legs trembled as he tried to explain himself. In the end, he couldn't make up any more stories. Make up stories. Keep making up stories. Let's see what other stories you can come up with. Yichen chuckled without a trace of anger on his face. He patiently waited for the Wang family patriarch to continue. But the more he acted like this, the more terrified the Wang family patriarch became. He landed on the roof and knelt down in front of Yichen. He said sincerely, Yi Lauda, I know I was wrong. Please let me live. From now on, I'll be your dog. I'll bite whoever you ask me to. I'll bite however many times you ask me to. Hearing this, Yichen's expression changed. He scolded coldly. You want to be my dog? You think you're worthy? Since that's the case, let's die together. The Wang family patriarch saw that there was no turning back. He immediately took out an item that looked like a destructive weapon from his storage ring. But before he could do anything, Yichen's divine sense froze him in place. Then, Yichen stretched out his hand. The black item that looked like a destructive weapon flew over and landed in Yichen's hand. Pucci, after reading the item's introduction, Yichen's eyes narrowed. Item name, Super Spiritual Bomb Explosion Radius. 500 kilometers power. Within the effective killing range of the explosion, it will instantly kill all living beings that are one major realm higher than the user's level. Outside the effective killing range, it will cause varying degrees of damage depending on the distance from the explosion's aftermath. Seeing this item, Yichen finally confirmed why these families dared to plot against him. It turned out that each of them had a trump card. If this guy really detonated this spiritual bomb, everything within a 500-kilometer radius would be reduced to dust. How many more of these bombs did this guy have? Yichen's heart skipped a beat. He immediately summoned the Wang family patriarch in front of him. Soul search. Even Yi Chun felt threatened by the strength of these families. Hence, he wanted to search their souls to find the mastermind behind this. But to his surprise, just as Yi Chun activated his soul search ability, the Wang family patriarch's body suddenly exploded in midair. Chapter 11:14. Boom! Before Yi Chun could react, the body of the head of the Wang family turned into countless pieces of flesh with a loud bang and scattered in the air. Even his soul disappeared without a trace. Self-detonation? Realizing this, Yi Chun was also very shocked. An explosion of this level would not affect Yi Chun, but he was very surprised by the head of the Wang family's self-detonation. Because Yi Chun was confident that the head of the Wang family would not have the ability to self-detonate under his confinement. The only explanation was that the head of the Wang family had a restriction placed in his soul before, and this restriction was specially designed to prevent him from searching his soul. Once someone used the soul-searching technique on him, this restriction would immediately self-detonate. This hidden force was indeed well prepared. In order to not leak the secret, they even used this method. At this time, Yi Chun found a storage ring among the scattered pieces of the head of the Wang family, so he immediately took it into his hand. After taking the ring, Yi Chun quickly sank his consciousness into it and began to investigate. In addition to some low-level weapons and equipment, there were a few spirit stones and low-level elixirs in the storage ring. After skipping these, Yi Chun finally found 9 super spiritual bombs in the depths of the ring. Damn it, this guy is a moving powder keg. If I hadn't come here in advance, this bastard would have gotten close to Samsara City. Even if Yilin killed him in time, Samsara City would have been directly caught in the explosion range of these super spiritual bombs. If that happened, I would have suffered a great loss. I don't know if these bastards found these things themselves, or if the force behind them made them. No matter what the situation was, the greater power behind these families had to be found and eradicated. Just as Yi Chun was thinking about this, the members of the Wang family, who were awakened by the explosion in the air, saw Yi Chun in the air. After being stunned for a short while, they screamed and fled. But how could they escape when they were unprepared? For a moment, cries, screams, and curses rang out in waves. It was a lively scene. Yi Chun didn't have the slightest bit of pity as he looked at the people running for their lives below. As long as any of these people were left alive, they would become a disaster in the future. Therefore, he immediately snorted and flicked his 10 fingers. In an instant, dozens of red lotus hellfire flew out and surrounded the entire old mansion. Some of the Wang family members who had just rushed out of the mansion were burned alive by Yi Chun's red lotus hellfire. At this moment, 10 figures suddenly leaped onto the roof of the Wang family's house and looked at Yi Chun in the sky. These 10 people were none other than the 10 great elders of the Wang family. Yi Chun, my Wang family has no enmity with you. Why would a demon like you do this to us? A sword-wielding old man questioned Yi Chun angrily. No enmity? You old farts really know how to play dumb. Since you dared to plot against me, you should be prepared to die. Yi Chun's eyes flashed coldly. 10 fireballs instantly flew out from his fingertips and attacked the 10 Wang family elders. When the 10 elders saw the incoming red lotus hellfire, their expressions changed drastically and they quickly fled in all directions. But how could they escape the red lotus hellfire? Before the 10 of them could escape from the vicinity of the Wang family's old residence, they had already been caught up by the flames that were flying at high speed. Halfway through, they were directly turned into burning people one after another. Wah wah wah. Ah wah wah wah. The 10 Wang family elders immediately let out shrill howls like pigs being slaughtered. They kept struggling and screaming. Yi Chun, you murderous demon, you'll die a horrible death. Wah. Yi Chun, one day, someone will avenge me. Yi Chun, you evil thief, one day, you will definitely go to hell and never be reincarnated. The elders' shrill cries and curses before they died had already attracted the attention of the surviving players in Tri-Mountain City. However, no one dared to come forward. F*CK.
What the F asterisk CK is going on? Who did the Wong family offend? They were tortured so miserably. The Wong family is the most powerful family in Tri-Mountain City. Looking at the situation today, I'm afraid they won't be able to escape this calamity. Who is that person in the air? Why does he look so familiar? Did the Wong family offend him? I heard those Wong family elders who were burned to death shouting something about Yi Chun. Could he be Yu of Gojoseon, Yi Chun from the Primordial Age game? He has such terrifying strength at such a young age. He single-handedly wiped out an entire family. I'm afraid no one in the East other than Yi Chun can do this, right? Yi Laoda is indeed awesome. He wiped out an entire family without saying a word. Everyone should be careful in the future. You can offend anyone, but never Yi Chun. The Wong family is really blind. Of all the people they could have offended, they had to offend Yi Chun? Don't they know Yi Chun's temper? They really deserved it. I know, right? But this is good too. The Wong family usually relies on their status as the most powerful family in Tri-Mountain City to throw their weight around and run amok in the village. How many people have suffered at their hands? Now that Yi Chun has wiped them out, it can be said that a scourge has been removed from Tri-Mountain City. That's right, that's right. I support Yi Chun in punishing evil. The Red Lotus hellfire spread very quickly, and it didn't take long for the Wong family's mansion to become a sea of flames. The Wong family's mansion occupied a large area, and there were more than 100,000 family members living in it. They were all struggling in the sea of flames, and with so many people being burned at the same time, their cries of agony could be heard from several kilometers away. The entire Tri-Mountain City was filled with these tragic and horrifying cries, and everyone in the city was in a state of panic. As the cries spread further and further, more and more players gathered to watch. Those who witnessed the tragic scene of the Wong family members being engulfed in flames were all so frightened that their legs trembled and cold sweat poured down their bodies. This was a terrifying nightmare that they would never forget for the rest of their lives. The children were so frightened that they cried, and some of the more timid ones even fainted from fright. It was too tragic. As long as they saw the scene of hundreds of thousands of people being burned at the same time, even the most mentally strong people would not be able to remain unmoved. At this moment, the crowd of onlookers all had the same thought in their minds. Even if they had to die in the future, they would never offend Yi Chun. No matter how terrifying death was, it was not as terrifying as Yi Chun's revenge. This was the consensus that everyone had reached at this moment. Yi Chun looked down at the sea of flames from high up in the sky, and a cold smile appeared on his face. Since you dared to plot against me, you should be prepared to die. The Red Lotus hellfire was extremely powerful, and the entire Wong family's mansion was reduced to a pile of ashes in just a few minutes. The hundreds of thousands of people in the Wong family were all buried in the sea of flames, and not a single one was spared. After destroying the Wong family, Yi Chun did not stop for even a moment, and directly flew in the direction of the Zhang family. Chapter 11:15. In a certain mountain in the east, in a magnificent underground palace, there was a tense atmosphere at the moment. Alliance leader, bad news. I just received news that the Wong family has been wiped out by Yi Chun. What? An elegant old man's face darkened when he heard the news from a servant. He had ordered his subordinates to inform the Wong family and the Zhang family to evacuate immediately. He did not expect the Wong family to be wiped out in just a few minutes. That was a big family with hundreds of thousands of people, and it was so far away from Yi Chun. But even under such circumstances, the Wong clan was still destroyed. Such an outcome had completely exceeded his imagination. How did he get here so quickly? The old man knew that Yi Chun was at the tribulation stage. But how powerful was a tribulation stage cultivator? The old man did not have an accurate judgment. Even though the old man knew about the existence of the tribulation stage, he still felt the same way. Because at this moment, there was only one tribulation stage cultivator on Earth, and that was Yi Chun. While the old man was shocked by Yi Chun's tyrannical ability, He also understood that the Zhang family would most likely be doomed. Thinking of this, the old man immediately ordered the servant, "Send out the Black Knights immediately to rescue the Zhang family's military supplies." Yes, Alliance leader. The Zhang family was located in Linhai City in the north. They were a famous family there. When Yichen rushed to Linhai City, he found that the place had already become a mess. The Zhang family's old mansion, which covered an area of more than 10 square kilometers, was only left with the weaker members. They were packing their belongings and were obviously planning to escape. Seeing the situation below, Yichen knew that the Zhang family had also received the news of evacuation. So be it. It was impossible for them to escape. Thinking of this, Yichen immediately chose a few members of the Zhang family and used the soul-searching technique on them. At this moment, the memories of several people entered Yichen's mind at the same time. Then, they were all received by Yichen. Yichen finally came up with a clue after a short period of sorting out the information. The patriarch of the Zhang family and the dozens of elders of the Zhang family followed the 10 powerful black-clothed men and fled towards the southeast. And it had only been a few minutes. After receiving this information, Yichen did not want to delay any longer. He raised his right hand and patted the air in the direction of the tens of thousands of Zhang family members. Bang, bang, bang. After a series of explosions, the members of the Zhang family below were instantly blown apart by the violent force. In an instant, countless pieces of flesh exploded and splattered everywhere. In an instant, the huge Zhang clan's old residence had turned into a tragic scene of carnage. After that, Yichen chased after the head of the Zhang family as fast as he could. A few minutes later, Yichen finally discovered a group of people hurrying through the air. In this group, besides the several dozen elders, there were also 10 black-clothed men whose strength had reached the great perfection of the martial saint level. This was consistent with the information he had obtained from the soul search of the members of the Zhang family. These people should be the head of the Zhang family. He did not expect the Zhang family to have so many experts who had reached the great perfection of the martial saint level. After guessing their identity, Yichen immediately sped up and flew over their heads, blocking their path. "Are you people from the Zhang family?" After stopping in midair, Yichen asked them coldly with a gloomy expression. The members of the Zhang family hurriedly stopped when they saw someone blocking their path. After seeing Yichen's face clearly, their expressions changed drastically. They thought that they had tried their best to escape from the Zhang family, but they did not expect that even so, Yichen would still catch up with them. "Yichen, don't push us too far. What did the Zhang family do to offend you? Why are you chasing us so closely? What is the meaning of this?" The leader of the group was an old man who looked like a rat. He pretended to be confused and tried to bluff his way through. When Yichen heard this, he laughed loudly. He sneered at the old man contemptuously. "Old man, if you haven't done anything wrong, you shouldn't be afraid of ghosts calling your door. Since you haven't offended me, why are you running?" The old man was rendered speechless by Yichen's words. He could only stammer and explain, We have something important to do. What does it have to do with running away?" Hearing this, Yichen's face immediately turned cold, and he asked coldly, "Humph, your important matter is to escape from my pursuit, isn't it? Ha ha ha. Yichen, you really know how to joke. Why would I want to escape from your pursuit?" The old man was hit by Yichen, but he did not dare to admit it. He still pretended to be calm and quibbled. Yichen did not want to waste any more words with him. In the next second, the God-Slayer was still floating beside him. "Old man, you know very well why I'm here. Since you want to plot against me, you'll have to pay the price with your life." When the old man saw the God-Slayer, his expression changed immediately. He hurriedly shouted to the people around him, "Quick, let's split up and run." When the others heard his words, they immediately fled in all directions. When Yichen saw this, he curled his lips in disdain. "Want to run? Dream on." When he thought of this, Yichen's mind moved. He instantly released his divine sense and froze the dozens of people in place. Seeing that they had completely lost the ability to move, the faces of the old man, The elders of the clan and the 10 black-clothed men instantly turned deathly pale. They knew that Yi Chun was powerful, domineering, and invincible. But they did not want to die, so they had to run, and they had to run separately. Otherwise, if they were caught, they would not have a good ending. But they were still caught, and they were caught at the same time. Don't kill me. I surrender. One by one, the members of the Zhang clan shouted, screamed, and struggled. But no matter how much they shouted, how much they begged, how much they struggled, how much they wanted to regain their freedom from Yi Chen's control and continue to escape, it was useless. Yi Chun, who was already here, would not give them any chance at all. Seeing that these people were already under his control, Yi Chun, who had originally wanted to kill them directly, suddenly changed his mind. Although using the soul search on these people might result in the same result, but it would not be good if he did not try. When he thought of this, Yi Chun immediately used the collective soul search technique on them. But the result was the same as when he had searched the Wang family head soul. The moment Yi Chen's soul search technique touched these people's souls, there was a sudden change. Boom, 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 boom. The bodies of these Zhang clan members and the 10 martial saints at great perfection who were frozen in place immediately exploded one after another. Loud booms sounded one after another. And these people in front of Yi Chun exploded into pieces of flesh and blood that drifted down from the sky. At this moment, the sky seemed to be raining blood, and the scene was extremely horrifying. Damn it, it still doesn't work. The forces hidden behind the 3 big clans did things flawlessly. Everyone who knew about the forces behind them had their souls sealed. Otherwise, they would not have self-detonated immediately after the soul search. Who was the person behind this bastard? Not only could he control the 3 big hidden forces, but he also had such a method of controlling souls, and it was especially used against the soul search technique. Did they already know that he had the soul search technique? Or did they accidentally obtain the method to control souls? No matter what, he could not let go of the person behind this bastard. But for now, there was no more clues for the time being. He could only let the flaming tiger Yilin and the others patrol every day, and the range was within 1,000 miles of Samsara City. Otherwise, if those bastards got close to Samsara City and threw out some powerful tools, Samsara City would be in danger. Thinking of this, Yi Chun narrowed his eyes, raised his right hand, and sucked in the void. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. After several whooshing sounds, dozens of intact storage rings instantly flew into Yi Chun's hands. Chapter 11:16. The previous 2 families didn't have much good stuff. He wondered what the Zhang family situation would be. Thinking about this, Yi Chun's spirit sense instantly went into the storage ring on his hand. After a few breaths, Yi Chun's eyes lit up. Damn, there were actually 3 million spirit artifacts, swords, and 10 million recovery pills. Although the swords had the attribute of cannot be strengthened and couldn't be placed in the cauldron of heaven and earth, they were still spirit artifacts. As for the recovery pills, they weren't bad. At least if there were any accidents or injuries to his soldiers, they could instantly recover with this. The recovery pills could instantly heal any injuries. The effect could reach the mortal evolution state at most. The effect would be weak if used above the mortal evolution state. Although he didn't find a mastermind, he still gained quite a lot this time. The rest would depend on the outcome of the 3 members who were the hosts of the parasitic soul bodies deliberately releasing the news that there was a way to enter the nether realm. Although not all the hidden powers would be lured over, at least the mastermind behind the 3 families would come for the nether realm and to control more families. Thinking about this, Yi Chun sneered and flew straight back to Samsara City. He had a few simple words with the girls and told the flaming tiger Yilin, Yi Xiaoyu, and the other spirit pets that had evolved into divine beasts had to patrol within 1,000 miles of Samsara City every day. After that, Yi Chun went online again. In the game world, Samsara Immortal City, a pillar of light suddenly descended. Then, Yi Chun, who had left not long ago, returned to this world once again. The moment Yi Chun opened his eyes, the world channel, which was quite quiet, suddenly exploded.
Did you guys hear? We just received news that the Ouyang family, Wang family, and Zhang family have been annihilated by Yichun. Not a single one was left alive. Huh? How is this possible? These three clans are really far away. Yi Yu of Gojoseon is powerful, but no matter how powerful he is, he can't possibly wipe out three clans in such a short period of time, right? Tisk, it's up to you whether to believe it or not. I saw it with my own eyes. The Wang family was burned so miserably. It was like a nightmare. I still feel scared when I think about it now. But why? Why would Yu of Gojoseon destroy these three families for no reason? I'm not too sure about that, but it seems to have something to do with the Bug Tribe's secret realm. It seems like these three families were involved in the plot against Yichun. Damn, luckily I didn't go in at that time, otherwise, nonsense. Who do you think Yi Yu of Gojoseon is? Before you want to take advantage of him, you should first touch your own head. Do you still want it? The World Channel was in an uproar. After Yichun took a look, he immediately started rewarding his subordinates. The civil officials and generals were each rewarded with 1,000 supreme-grade spiritual stones. After that, he rewarded the supreme-grade cross-level enemy annihilation card to Guan Yu and 10 super spiritual bombs to 10 generals, namely Zhao Yun, Dian Wei, Guan Yu, Zhang Fei, Li Yuanba, Zhang Liao, Gao Shun, Zhang He, Huang Zhong, and Gan Ning. 3 million spiritual weapons and 10 million recovery pills were distributed to the soldiers of Reincarnation Immortal City. Apart from that, each soldier was also rewarded with 10 supreme-grade spiritual stones. With such generous rewards, all the soldiers of Reincarnation Immortal City were in high spirits. They all cheered for Yichun. Looking at the majestic army of Reincarnation Immortal City, Yichun was in high spirits. Once again, he set off for Yin City and Mulberry Hill City in the Empire of Southeast Asia. More than 2 million soldiers of Reincarnation Immortal City split into 10 groups and swept across the entire Empire of Southeast Asia. Along the way, all the cities they encountered were wiped out. Regardless of whether they were players or natives, no one was left alive. At this time, the World Channel was filled with the curses of the Southeast Continent players. Yichun turned a blind eye to it. Unless these Southeast Continent players stopped coming online, they would not be able to escape the fate of being killed by the Reincarnation Immortal City's army. The players of the Empire of Southeast Asia were also enraged by Yichun's Samsara Legion. Since they could not resist the attack of the Samsara Legion, they chose to come online and regroup at Mulberry Hill City in the Empire of Southeast Asia. They were prepared to unite all the players of the Empire of Southeast Asia to fight against Yichun's Samsara Legion. At the same time, the 10 groups of Reincarnation Immortal City's army marched forward triumphantly. Wherever they passed, not even a blade of grass grew. Zhao Yun, Dian Wei, Guan Yu, Zhang Fei, Li Yuanba, Zhang Liao, Gao Shun, Zhang He, Gan Ning, Cheng Pu, Huang Zhong, Su Chu, Li Jin, and other famous historical generals led their own troops and destroyed all the resistance they encountered along the way. Somehow, they felt that they were fulfilling the long-cherished wish of their previous lives, which was to conquer the world for the Great Han Dynasty. They were so happy that they could destroy all obstacles in their way. What was the lifelong pursuit of these generals? It was nothing more than following a wise ruler, expanding the territory, and achieving great feats. They wanted to bring glory to their ancestors and enjoy supreme glory. For this, they could throw their heads, shed their blood, and disregard life and death. For this, they could risk universal condemnation and coldly face thousands of people. Now, Yichun had given them such an opportunity. While they were grateful to Yichun, they also felt extremely lucky and proud that they could realize the value of their lives. How could the soldiers of Reincarnation Immortal City not feel the same? Under the inspiration of these famous historical generals, all of them were in high spirits and their morale was soaring. With a long history of 5,000 years, the East had never lacked hot-blooded men. As long as they were given the opportunity,
all of them would serve their country well. In history, it was only because of the weakness and incompetence of the leaders that these great Eastern men shed blood and tears. Today, Yi Chun gave them a stage to show off their skills, a stage where they could display all that they had learned and shine brilliantly. For the soldiers of the Samsara Legion, good treatment was only one aspect. In fact, they valued the rare glory and limitless bright future more. Following Yi Chun allowed them to truly feel this glory, as well as a limitless bright future. And this was something that could not be bought with money. To them, to be able to follow their lord, Yi Chun, for the rest of their lives was something that they had never dreamed of. Yi Chun looked at the reincarnation Immortal City army that was constantly sweeping through the cities of the Empire of Southeast Asia and nodded with satisfaction. In the continuous battle, Yi Chun could feel that the strength of the reincarnation Immortal City soldiers was steadily increasing. This was the result that Yi Chun wanted. The 10 armies advanced at lightning speed. In less than half a day, they had already wiped out all the cities within the borders of the Empire of Southeast Asia. This made the Eastern players who had been following behind very happy. They were extremely busy at this time. Just by picking up the corpses, they earned a lot of money. As the Samsara Legion's killing speed was too fast, millions of Eastern players were too busy picking up the corpses. Many of their storage items were full. In the end, they could only pick up the high-level items and leave the normal items on the battlefield. No one wanted them at all. As Yi Chun had been conquering the East and West, the equipment and wealth of the Eastern players were a few levels higher than that of the other countries. This time, they had made a lot of money. Everyone was grinning from ear to ear. Following EU of Gojoseon is a good thing. Nonsense, do I need you to say that? We don't have to participate in any battles or take any risks, and we already have such great rewards. I think we don't have to do anything in the future. Let's just follow the Samsara Legion. I wonder what are the requirements to join the Samsara Legion. Should we give it a try? Sai, don't even think about it. The Samsara Legion doesn't accept players at all. It has been so long. Have you seen Yi Chun accept a player into the Samsara Legion? But why? Are we not as good as those NPC soldiers? You can only ask Yi Chun about this. Chapter 11:17. The Eastern players were picking up items excitedly. On the other hand, the Empire of Southeast Asia's players were filled with resentment and cursing in the World Channel. F***CK. These pigs, I'm going to kill them all. F***CK. I've been killed 3 times. Let's gather at Yin City and kill all these Eastern pigs. I've been killed 10 times. These pigs are too despicable. I swear I'll take revenge. The**MN pigs. I'm killing monsters in the wild, and you want to kill me? I want all of you dead. We, the Empire of Southeast Asia's players, are all superior beings. How can we be abused by these despicable Eastern pigs? We have to unite and fight against these filthy, despicable, and inferior Eastern pigs. F***CK, you Southeastern continent monkeys, a bunch of ignorant and uncivilized bastards. I'll let you know what it means to kneel down and sing conquer. Monkeys of the Southeastern continent, curse and hate all you want. F***CKU, I'm telling you, it's useless no matter how much you curse. Yu of Gojoseon will let you know what fear and despair are, what it means to live a life worse than death. These idiots, they've been beaten like dogs by Yu of Gojoseon, and they still dare to be so arrogant. They're so stupid that they're fearless. Why bother with them? It'll be our turn soon. By then, we'll kill these bastards and trash until they're level 0. That's right. We'll kill them until they're level 0 and cry for their moms and dads. Kneel down and call me Grandpa. The World Channel was abuzz. After Yi Chun glanced at it, he squinted his eyes and a cold glint flashed in his eyes. God damn it. Although some of the Empire of Southeast Asia's players were aware of the situation, most of them were still as arrogant and despicable as ever. At this point, they still did not understand the situation and still dared to be so arrogant. Be arrogant. Be as arrogant as you can.
When I destroy the empire of Southeast Asia, I'll let these idiots cry. Yi Chun smirked at the thought of this. He then looked at the rewards of the Zerg invasion mission. In the next second, 2 tokens filled with a mysterious aura entered Yi Chen's line of sight. God City Advancement Order, Holy City Advancement Order. These 2 items didn't seem to have appeared in his previous life. Why did they appear now? At the thought of this, Yi Chen looked at the attributes of the 2 tokens. God City Upgrade Order, Sovereign, 1 and only after using it. The Immortal City can be upgraded to a God City. The Immortal City's construction materials will automatically be upgraded to God Grade. Holy City Promotion Order, Sovereign, unique after using it. The Holy City can be promoted to a Holy City. The materials used to build the Holy City will automatically be upgraded to innate materials. At this point, Yi Chen's eyes, which had been filled with doubt, suddenly widened. F***CK. Is this for real? As long as he used these 2 tokens, his reincarnation Immortal City could be upgraded to a reincarnation Holy City. Moreover, the materials used to build the city could be upgraded from Immortal Grade to Innate Grade. Yi Chen thought to himself in shock. He looked at the 2 tokens again. After confirming the attributes of the tokens, he couldn't help but laugh out loud. F***CK, this time I'm rich. It was no wonder that Yi Chen was so excited. One had to know that in Yi Chen's previous life, the most popular and powerful territorial buildings among the players were the Immortal City. As for the Divine City and Holy City, these 2 territorial buildings only existed in the guesses of the players. To be more precise, based on the fact that the Immortal City was built with Immortal Grade materials, the players had deduced that as long as all the materials used to build the Immortal City were replaced with God Grade materials, the Immortal City could be upgraded to a Divine City. If all the God Grade materials used to build the Divine City were replaced with stronger innate materials, the Divine City would be upgraded to an Innate City or something else. This was the deduction made by the players in Yi Chen's previous life based on the Immortal City. Unfortunately, it was only a deduction in the end. This was because although there were countless treasures in the Eldritch world, it wasn't that easy to gather all the God Grade materials, let alone innate grade materials. One had to know that even the powerful beings in the Eldritch world wanted innate grade materials. How could they let the players get them for free? Of course, this wasn't important. What was important was that Yi Chen had obtained the Divine City Advancement Token, Supreme, 1 and only, and Holy City Advancement Token, Supreme, 1 and only, because of the special plot quest Invasion of the Zerg. With these 2 tokens, Yi Chen's reincarnation Immortal City could be upgraded to a reincarnation Holy City that was completely built with innate grade materials. The reincarnation Holy City would be a connate spiritual treasure or even a connate ultimate treasure. Whether it was defense or attack, it would be terrifyingly strong. This wasn't a joke. Once the reincarnation Immortal City was upgraded to a reincarnation Holy City, all the materials used to build the city would become innate grade. The innate grade materials in the reincarnation Holy City would be 100% terrifying. If the reincarnation Holy City was disassembled and refined into weapons, it wouldn't be a problem to refine tens of millions of acquired spiritual treasures, even if not billions. Connate spiritual treasures and above were naturally formed by nature. They couldn't be refined with innate grade materials. If they were refined, they could only be refined into acquired spiritual treasures. This was the restriction of the laws of nature. However, Yi Chen had the connate ultimate treasure, the cauldron of heaven and earth. As long as he could refine an acquired spiritual treasure, Yi Chen could turn it into an innate grade spiritual treasure. Of course, Yi Chen wouldn't do that. Moreover, this didn't affect the reincarnation Holy City's priceless property. One had to know that as long as the reincarnation Holy City appeared, it would be made entirely of innate grade materials. The reincarnation Holy City could be regarded as a connate spiritual treasure. As for the reason, it was very simple. The reincarnation Holy City appeared under the effect of the Holy City Advancement Order. It wasn't refined by Yi Chen. As long as the reincarnation Holy City appeared, it would have its own innate God restriction. This was because it was a whole body, and it was automatically formed under the laws of nature. This way, the reincarnation holy city would definitely be upgraded into an innate grade spiritual treasure under the power of the laws of nature. Even if the innate God restriction was rare, the reincarnation holy city's offensive and defensive power wouldn't be too bad. After all, the reincarnation holy city had too many innate grade materials. It was impossible for it not to be powerful. And this was the source of Yi Chen's inexplicable excitement. F***ck, I didn't expect my luck to be so good, no. This is F***king good luck. Huh. The main theme of the Eldritch World was battle, robbery, killing, and death. Therefore, any player or force would want to have an unbreakable base. Yi Chen was no exception, and now, Yi Chen had obtained such a base before he ascended to the Eldritch World. How could he not be happy? How could he not be excited? At this thought, Yi Chen wanted to use the Holy City Advancement Order, Supreme, one and only, immediately, but he stopped himself. He couldn't use it now. At least, he couldn't use it before the reincarnation Immortal City completed its expansion plan. Yi Chen wanted to ascend to the Eldritch World and bring all the people of the Great Han Dynasty with him. With the current size of the reincarnation Immortal City, he couldn't do this. And to do this, Yi Chen had to fill the reincarnation Immortal City with a massive amount of immortal-grade materials that he had previously plundered. Only in this way could Yi Chen's reincarnation Immortal City and the reincarnation Immortal Island that housed the reincarnation Immortal City be comparable to the Great Han Empire, or even larger than the Great Han Empire. If Yi Chen used the Holy City Advancement Order now, Yi Chen's expansion plan would automatically stop. If he wanted to expand again, he would not need immortal-grade materials, but massive amounts of God-grade materials. However, this was simply impossible in the current beginner's area. This was because the best materials in the newbies area were immortal-grade materials. There were no God-grade materials at all. It was also for this reason that Yi Chen gave up on using the Holy City Advancement Order. Otherwise, it would be too wasteful. At this thought, Yi Chen let out a long sigh. The reincarnation Immortal Island was already big enough. If it grew any bigger, it would be hard to guarantee that Lu Hong wouldn't see it. It was better to wait until the vassal contest started, then fill the reincarnation Immortal City with all the immortal-grade materials that he had found. Then, he would use the Holy City Advancement Order and the Holy City Advancement Order. Yi Chen didn't think this way because he was afraid of Lu Hong, but to avoid unnecessary trouble. After all, Yi Chen couldn't fall out with Lu Hong yet, nor could he take the initiative to kill Lu Hong. Otherwise, Yi Chen would automatically lose part of the destiny of the Great Han Empire that he had to obtain. This was not the outcome that Yi Chen wanted to see. No hurry, no hurry. There is still time to complete this before the Eldritch World Ascension. At this thought, Yi Chen looked directly at the golden ball of light floating in the small world. This should be one of the 9 esotericas, the Swordsman Formula. The Swordsman Formula was one of the top secret techniques in the fantasy world that Yi Fani had transmigrated to. It was used for healing and instant recovery. When cultivated to the highest level, even if there was only a drop of blood left, one could be completely revived. It was extremely powerful. I already have a lot of offensive skills, but I really don't have many defensive skills at this thought. Yi Chen waved his right hand, and the golden ball of light floating in the small world instantly appeared in Yi Chen's hand. Looking at the ball of light in his hand, Yi Chen clenched his right hand. After a bang, the golden ball of light instantly exploded, and then golden runes filled the sky and flew straight towards Yi Chen. When Yi Chen received all the golden runes, the system's notification immediately rang out. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for successfully obtaining one of the 9 esotericas, the Swordsman Formula. As soon as the system notification ended, Yi Chen's body was immediately enveloped by a mysterious aura. After the time it took to drink a cup of tea, Yi Chen opened his eyes. The Swordsman Formula was not bad. It could actually make the physical body cultivated by the 9 revolutions mysterious art much more energetic. Thinking of this, Yi Chen could not help but smirk. He then looked straight at the mountain of spiritual marrow in the small world. Although the spiritual marrow could only be used once, its effect was better than the spiritual stones. It could also improve one's innate ability. However, the spiritual marrow was not very useful to the reincarnation immortal city soldiers who had already advanced to the 3-star celestial body, Zhaoyun, Guojia, and Dianwei. This could be used as a reward for the soldiers who had descendants, Zhaoyun, Dianwei, Guanyu, Guojia, and the others overall. The benefits of this attack on the Empire of Southeast Asia were much, much greater. Not bad. Not bad. Thinking of this, Yichen could not help but smirk. He then looked straight at the Reincarnation Immortal City Army. At this moment, the Reincarnation Immortal City Army had already completed the encirclement of Yin City and Sangamon City of the Empire of Southeast Asia. Zhao Yun's army, which was the fastest, was only 50 kilometers away from Sangamon City. In the palace of the Empire of Southeast Asia, Thesos the Great was as anxious as a cat on a hot tin roof. "Tell me, what should we do now?" Looking at the courtiers below, Emperor Tessos asked anxiously, "What's the matter?" Yichen Samsara Legion is about to attack here. Who has a plan to retreat? A courtier immediately stepped forward and said respectfully, "Emperor, don't be anxious. Don't worry, Great Emperor. Right now, Swallow City has gathered 50 million mutant guards and 30 million local troops. As far as I know, the Reincarnation Immortal City's army only has a little over 2 million people. As long as they dare to invade ancient Sangohill City, they will not be able to return alive." "That's not right." Before Thesos the Great could respond, another general walked out from the courtiers and retorted, "Emperor, you are wise. Yi Chen's Reincarnation Immortal City army has destroyed Polar Bear, Wen Nation, Silla Nation, and India by himself. There must be something special about them. Therefore, I think that if we rely on our current strength in the upcoming battle, I'm afraid that it will not bode well for us." When Thesos the Great heard the general's analysis, he felt that it made sense. However, this was not the answer he wanted. In the next second, Thesos the Great looked directly at the general and asked, "What do you think? In your opinion, what should we do?" "Emperor," the general said very sincerely, "the only thing we can do now is to find a way to summon the gods to help us. There are countless gods in the Empire of Southeast Asia. As long as we summon a few of them, we can solve the current crisis." Thesos' eyes lit up when he heard this suggestion. However, he immediately hesitated. "But the price to pay to summon the gods is too high. I'm afraid we can't afford it." When the general heard this, he gritted his teeth and tried to persuade Thesos again. "Emperor, this is the price we must pay. If the Empire of Southeast Asia falls, we will never have the chance. All right, we'll do as you say. Come on, quickly prepare the altar." 50 kilometers away from Sangohill City, Zhao Yun's troops were advancing at full speed. The Empire of Southeast Asia's Yin City was close at hand. All the soldiers were rushing with all their might to fight for the first place. However, at this moment, the earth suddenly began to tremble. Immediately after, a pitch-black behemoth actually drilled out from the ground. The monster's body was as big as a mountain. There were countless thick black tentacles all over its body, densely covering its entire body. Every tentacle was very long, and they danced in the air. In the center of this huge monster's body, there were countless huge, ugly heads. Each head had a green face and fangs. It was a horrible sight. On top of the countless heads, there was also a bloody mouth that looked like it was going to swallow the world at any time. Roar! The next moment, these monster giants roared at the sky at the same time. In an instant, the entire sky shook violently as if it was going to shatter the void. After a loud roar, all the heads of the huge monster looked in the direction of Zhao Yun's troops. They stared at Zhao Yun's troops like the gaze of the Grim Reaper, sending chills down one's spine. Feeling the terrifying pressure from this monster, Zhao Yun hurriedly stopped his troops and looked ahead with a serious expression. Boom! At this moment, the sky suddenly darkened.
Over 1,000 ugly heads of the gigantic monster that occupied an area of several miles opened their bloody mouths at the same time, spraying out a thick black fog in front of them. The black fog immediately formed a terrifying black cloud in the sky and shrouded Zhao Yun's troops. This is interesting. Yi Chun, who had been guarding Reincarnation Immortal City, also noticed this huge monster at this time. He immediately went into the void and appeared directly above the countless heads of the huge monster. Looking at the huge monster under his feet, Yi Chun could not help but frown. There were actually 10,000 heads. Could it be a 10,000-headed monster? According to Yi Chun's understanding of the Empire of Southeast Asia, the 10,000-headed monster was an evil monster in the folklore of the Empire of Southeast Asia. It specialized in eating people for fun. This Empire of Southeast Asia was really crazy. They actually dared to summon a 10,000-headed monster. Who knew how much they had to pay for this? Just as Yi Chun thought of this, he saw the 10,000-headed monster suddenly appear above him. Those 10,000 ugly giants opened their mouths at the same time and let out a deafening roar. Roar! At this moment, the air was turbulent and the stench of blood filled the air. Obviously, the 10,000-headed monster was very displeased with Yi Chun's sudden appearance. When Yi Chun saw this, he smiled coldly. With a wave of his right hand, a violent hurricane appeared and blew away the thick black fog that the 10,000-headed monster had spat out. In the next second, Yi Chun waved his right hand, and the thick black godslayer suddenly appeared out of thin air. Then Yi Chun grabbed it. At the same time, the godslayer in Yi Chun's right hand stabbed at one of the 10,000-headed monster's heads. With a splat, the godslayer effortlessly stabbed into the 10,000-headed monster's head. Boom! The hideous head that was pierced by the god-slaying spear instantly exploded. In that instant, black and stinky blood splattered everywhere with a whoosh sound. The 10,000-headed monster, which had lost one of its heads in an instant, let out a mournful and angry roar under the stimulation of pain. Roar! At the same time, the bloody mouths with fangs on the 9,999 ugly heads directly opened, and then they spat out an extremely stinky black poisonous mist at Yi Chun. High in the sky, Yi Chun looked down at the 10,000-headed monster, which was still twisting its heads after spitting out the poisonous fog, and pursed his lips in disdain. It had so much strength, but could only spit out poisonous fog. What a piece of *king trash. At this thought, Yi Chun raised his left hand and pointed at the 10,000-headed monster in the air. Fall! As soon as Yi Chun's words fell, the sound of thunder shook the heavens and earth. Boom, 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 boom. At the same time, tens of thousands of blue lightning bolts as thick as water tanks appeared out of thin air and struck the 10,000-headed monster's still twisting heads. Boom, boom, boom. After a series of explosions, the remaining 9,999 heads of the 10,000-head monster instantly stiffened, and then black smoke rose from them. It actually didn't die. Yi Chun, who had seen that the 10,000-headed monster hadn't been killed, was stunned for a moment. Then, he released his divine sense and enveloped the 10,000-headed monster. In the next second, Yi Chun's eyes widened. Damn, this 10,000-headed monster was actually at the tribulation passing stage. Moreover, its skin and flesh were actually extremely resistant to lightning. Chapter 11:18. Just as Yi Chun thought of this, an earth-shattering howl of agony rang out. Roar! Although the 10,000-headed monster was highly resistant to lightning, that didn't mean that it could ignore lightning. To be more precise, the 10,000-headed monster was obviously heavily injured. Otherwise, it wouldn't have let out such a shrill howl. Of course, there was also a strong sense of anger in its howl. In the next second, the enraged 10,000-headed monster rose into the air. All of its heads once again sprayed a black, stinking poisonous fog at Yi Chun. At the same time, the 10,000-headed monster's countless tentacles lashed out at Yi Chun without hesitation. In an instant, the poisonous fog filled the sky, and the world was plunged into darkness. The 10,000-headed monster was now suspended in the air. Its countless tentacles covered all directions, and close to 10,000 ugly heads were locked onto Yi Chun at the same time. It hated Yi Chun to the core and was determined to kill Yi Chun. Seeing the 10,000-headed monster's actions, Yi Chun curled his lips in disdain. "Evil creature, you dare to go against me with this little ability." After Yi Chun finished speaking, a cold light flashed in his eyes. At the same time, the Godslayer in his right hand was thrown at the 10,000-headed monster. With a buzzing sound, the dark and thick God-slaying spear instantly turned into a streak of black light and disappeared in a flash. In the next second, the sound of bodies being pierced rang out densely. Poochie, Poochie, Poochie. In the blink of an eye, over 1,000 of the 10,000-headed monster's giant heads were pierced through. Bang, bang, bang. After a series of explosions, over 1,000 of the 10,000-headed monster's giant heads exploded. Then, pieces of flesh and blood splattered everywhere. In an instant, the smell of blood filled the air. Blood mixed with flesh and blood covered the sky and fell to the ground. At the same time, Yi Chun slapped the air with his left hand. A violent hurricane appeared and blew away the black, poisonous fog that the 10,000-headed monster had just released. Roar, roar, roar. A mournful howl rang out. Then, the 10,000-headed monster's hideous body began to tremble violently. Its tentacles that were about to attack, Yi Chun began to dance wildly. After a short howl, the 10,000-headed monster's tentacles lashed out at Yi Chun again. This time, it was faster and stronger. When Yi Chun saw this, he laughed coldly. He raised his left hand and pointed at the air. With a buzzing sound, a pure white fireball appeared in an instant. Then it expanded with the wind, and in the blink of an eye, it became 10,000 meters wide. At that moment, the 10,000-head monster's tentacle arrived in front of Yi Chun. It clashed with the pure white fireball that Yi Chun had just released. In an instant, the sound of the 10,000-headed monster. Poochie, chi, chi, chi. The 10,000-headed monster's tentacles that came into contact with the pure white fireball were all incinerated into nothingness. The true fire of the sun was extremely strong and was ranked in the top 10 of the wilderness. The 10,000-headed monster wanted to use its thick skin to resist the true fire of the sun. It was dreaming. Just as Yi Chun thought of this, an even more mournful howl rang out from the 10,000-headed monster's mouth. Ewo, ewo. In an instant, the 10,000-headed monster no longer had its previous anger. All that was left was endless fear. That's right, fear. Because it had never imagined that Yi Chun's pure white fireball would be so powerful that it would despair. In just one exchange, its tentacles had been incinerated into nothingness. What kind of concept was this? It was very simple. It would die. It would be burned alive. After a short howl, the 10,000-headed monster did not hesitate to spit out black venom at the true fire of the sun that was rapidly burning its body. It wanted to extinguish the true fire of the sun. However, it was dreaming. The true fire of the sun was extremely strong and young. Even the powerhouses of the wilderness were unwilling to come into contact with it. How could the 10,000-headed monster, which was in the tribulation stage, extinguish the true fire of the wilderness, one of the 10 most powerful flames of the wilderness? Bam, bam, bam. After a series of violent explosions, the 10,000-headed monster's black venom was instantly incinerated into nothingness by the true fire of the sun. Oh, oh. The 10,000-headed monster, which was unable to extinguish the true fire of the sun, let out another mournful howl. Then, the 10,000-headed monster fell to the ground. With a loud bang, the 10,000-headed monster smashed a large hole in the ground. When Yi Chun saw this, he curled his lips in disdain. Then, he slapped the air with his left hand. The true fire of the sun, which had expanded to a diameter of 10,000 meters, instantly smashed into the 10,000-headed monster. In the blink of an eye, it hit the 10,000-headed monster's body. With a loud bang, the true fire of the sun exploded and completely enveloped the 10,000-headed monster's body.
Aoo, aoo. A mournful and despairing howl instantly rang out. Then, the 10,000-headed monster could be seen rolling around in the large hole in the ground, trembling. However, no matter how the 10,000-headed monster howled, screamed, trembled, and rolled around, the true fire of the sun continued to burn its body mercilessly. The 10,000-headed monster was extremely large. As it continued to roll and tremble, the ground trembled with it. At this moment, the Eastern player army had already arrived. When they saw the 10,000-headed monster in the large hole, their eyes widened instantly. F***CK. What kind of monster is this? Its head is too big. I'm not sure. However, just based on its size, it's not hard to tell that this guy is very strong. Yu of Gojosian is just too awesome. He can even take care of such a terrifying monster so easily. Nonsense. Don't forget, Yu of Gojosian is the man who swallowed one of the God of Light's hands. That's true. But speaking of which, after killing this monster, it should drop some good stuff, right? TSK. No matter what good stuff it drops, it has nothing to do with you. Just obediently collect the corpse. The Eastern players chattered one after another. Under the burning of the true fire of the sun, the howls of the 10,000-headed monster became softer and softer. Then it completely lost all signs of life. Yi Chun, who was watching the 10,000-headed monster, raised his left hand when he saw this. Then he sucked in the air. Whoosh, whoosh. Two sounds were heard. Two items flew out from the burning remains of the 10,000-headed monster. Then Yi Chun caught them in his hands. Looking at the two items in his hands, Yi Chun's eyes lit up. The 10,000-headed monster was in the tribulation stage. After killing it, I knew that there would be a monster core. However, I didn't expect this bastard to drop something good. Lucky draw dice, special item. Description: one-time consumable item. After using it, you could draw a reward that matches your current level. Although the description was simple and crude, Yi Chun read a very exciting message from it. That was, the higher one's cultivation level was, the better the prize one could draw from the lottery dice. Therefore, the lucky draw dice was something worth treasuring. Moreover, as Yi Chun's level increased, its value would also increase. This thing is not bad. I'll keep it first. Thinking of this, Yi Chun moved his mind and instantly kept the monster core and the lucky draw dice into his small world. At this moment, a world announcement suddenly sounded. Ding! Player Yi Chun has killed a tribulation stage monster. Special reward. Innate attribute points X 5,000 points. Ding! Player Yi Chun has killed a tribulation stage monster that was smuggled into this world. Special reward. Providence points X 100,000 points. Supreme grade spiritual stones X 10,000 pieces. Innate merit points X 1,000,000 points. The world announcement was repeated 3 times in a row, instantly causing the entire world channel to explode. Damn, Yu of Gojosian is indeed Yu of Gojosian. He killed a tribulation stage monster so casually. That's right. Don't you know who Boss Yi Chun is? F***CK. I'll only be impressed by Yi Lauda in my life. Comparisons are odious. Comparisons are odious. We can forget about catching up with Yu of Gojosian in this lifetime. TSK. You want to catch up with Yu of Gojosian? Dream on. Just as the players were discussing enthusiastically because of the world announcement, a loud roar suddenly came from the sky, causing everyone's eardrums to ring. Damn it! Who is so bold to kill my beloved pet? Yi Chun frowned when he heard this. Damn it! Why is there another one? My divine sense hasn't found it yet. Thinking of this, Yi Chun looked towards the direction of the voice. He saw an extremely ugly humanoid creature flying towards him from afar. The humanoid creature had a green face, fangs, and dark skin. As soon as it arrived in front of Yi Chun, it questioned him. Are you the one who killed my beloved pet? That's right. What are you going to do? Yi Chun looked at the humanoid creature and asked. Wahaha! Hearing this, the hideous humanoid creature's eyes turned scarlet all of a sudden. In the next second, the humanoid creature roared angrily. Brat, how dare you kill my tyrant demon god's pet? Why aren't you self-destructing to apologize?
Self-destructing? Apologize? Yi Chen sneered and said disdainfully, Tyrant demon god? Are you retarded? Ah, the tyrant demon god was extremely angry. He was a god from a remote area in the empire of Southeast Asia. He was usually high and mighty and was worshipped on the altar. In the small world, he enjoyed endless incense. However, today, a young man dared to say such disrespectful words to him. This was undoubtedly a challenge to his supreme authority. D*MN despicable brat. I'll kill you today. Kill me? You think you're worthy? Yi Chen's face turned cold. Just as he was about to attack, a world announcement suddenly sounded. Ding! Player Yi Chen has triggered a special story quest, Invasion of the Gods. Killing an extraterrestrial god that has invaded this world will grant a corresponding reward. The specific reward will be determined according to the level and number of gods killed. When the world announcement was made, the world was in an uproar. F*CK. Yu of Gojoseon has triggered another story quest. Extraterrestrial god, I wonder how strong it is. It must be very powerful. Otherwise, why would it be called a god? However, I just want to know where it is. I want to go and have a look. It's in the Empire of Southeast Asia. Just now, Yu of Gojoseon killed a super huge monster. In the end, it attracted an extremely ugly black ghost. He said that he was the Tyrant Demon God. Tyrant Demon God? What's that? I think it's an evil god in the Empire of Southeast Asia. Yi Laoda is too powerful. He even attracted an evil god. Look, there's a teleportation circle over there. Let's go and see what this Tyrant Demon God looks like. While players around the world were in shock, a huge teleportation circle appeared in the center of all the cities in the game. It led directly to the battlefield where Yi Chen was currently at. In an instant, players all over the world used the teleportation circle and arrived at the Empire of Southeast Asia. As soon as they walked out of the teleportation circle, they saw Yi Chen facing off against an extremely ugly black ghost in midair. Chapter 11:19. After the foreign players appeared, everyone's attention was on Yi Chen and the Tyrant Demon God in the sky. That's Yi Chen, the strongest player in the East? How can he fly? That's new. If he can't fly, how can he destroy 5 countries? D*MN. Why is Yi Chen so powerful, but I can't? Yi Chen must be the lucky one favored by the goddess of luck. Otherwise, he wouldn't have become so powerful. Sigh. I only hope that Yi Chen's journey of conquest will end here. He's going to conquer the middle continent. If he continues, he'll reach the western continent. Stop talking nonsense. I just want to know how to participate in this plot mission. That Tyrant Demon God can fly in the sky. We can't hit him at all. The foreign players were criticizing Yi Chen. Meanwhile, the Eastern players could not help but raise their heads and puff out their chests proudly. You want to steal Yu of Gojoseon's monsters? Let me tell you, if you don't want to die, get lost. Don't blame me for not warning you. If you dare to attack, Yu of Gojoseon will let you know what cruelty is. That's right, that's right. If you know what's good for you, get lost. Don't be an eyesore. After hearing the mocking words of the Eastern players, a foreign player with blonde hair, a hooked nose, and a full beard suddenly stepped forward and shouted, You barbarians! You're all barbarians. You guys are a bunch of barbarians. This quest is open to the entire world. We are all players, so why can't we participate? That's right. We're all players. We have the right to participate in this mission. Moreover, you can't chase us away. A foreign female player with blue hair quickly followed and shouted in a low voice. When an Eastern player heard this, he sneered and said, You're really not afraid of death. Before he could finish his sentence, he was interrupted by his companion beside him. Why bother with them? If they dare to attack, I can guarantee that Yu of Gojoseon will let them know what it means to kill in an instant. We know that Yi Chen is very strong. However, Yi Chen is fighting against the Tyrant Demon God. That's a deity. No matter how strong Yi Chen is, he's still immortal. He needs her help. A golden-haired man wearing bright silver armor with a lion emblem on his chest raised his head
and looked at the sky. Then, he said in a serious tone, "Foreign devil, are you trying to make me laugh to death? You want to help Boss Ichin? Just say that you want to snatch the reward. Don't make it sound so dignified." When an Eastern player who was dressed like a leader heard this, he curled his lips in disdain and said, No, you're wrong. We're sincerely here to help Yichun. We're messengers of peace. Moreover, I don't think Yichun could defeat the tyrant demon god." When a foreign player heard this, he raised his hand and shook his finger before saying, "TSK, don't be so fake. We have confidence in Yi Yu of Gojoseon." An Eastern player said proudly, "TSK, everyone knows how to boast. When Yichun is killed by the tyrant demon god, I'll see how you're going to boast then." An American player who had just teleported over retorted in disdain, "You don't believe me? Why don't we make a bet?" When the Eastern player saw the American player's lack of education, he immediately provoked him. "Let's make a bet. Who's afraid of who? Tell me, what's the bet?" The American player did not want to be outdone and immediately agreed to the bet. "How about this? We'll bet 100 low-grade spiritual stones. What do you think?" The Eastern player immediately started a bet. "Fisk, you're so poor. How can you bet with only 100 low-grade spiritual stones? If I want to bet, I'll bet at least 1,000 low-grade spiritual stones." The American player said arrogantly, "All right, 1,000 it is. I'll bet with you." The Eastern player agreed on the spot. After all, he would definitely win. When the time came, he would make this foreigner lose his pants. Meanwhile, the other American and Western continent players who were watching from the sidelines also joined in the fun when they saw the two of them starting a bet. "Count me in. 1,000 low-grade spiritual stones. I'll also bet that Yichun will lose." "Count me in. I'll also bet that Yichun will lose." "Count me in." When the Eastern players saw how stupid these people were, they immediately joined in the bet as well. All of them bet that Yichun would win. After all, it would be a waste if they did not earn some money. They had absolute confidence in Yichun's strength. In the sky, Yichun glanced at the unbelievably ugly tyrant demon god. Then he pointed the Godslayer his right hand at the tyrant demon god and said, "Do you have any last words? Do you have any last words? You can say them now. Arrogant thief, die." When the tyrant demon god heard this, his eyes were instantly filled with boundless rage as he roared. How many years had it been since someone dared to speak to the tyrant demon god in such a manner? No one. However, today he had met someone like that. Moreover, the person's words were full of contempt and mockery. How could the tyrant demon god not be angry? How could he not hate him? At that moment, an extremely violent energy exploded from the tyrant demon god's body. Boom! A loud sound was heard. The tyrant demon god instantly exploded the air beneath his feet as he appeared in front of Yichun. Die, tyrant apocalyptic fist. As soon as the tyrant demon god finished speaking, a black vortex formed by countless all-encompassing energy suddenly appeared in the sky that was still considered peaceful. The black vortex was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, the black vortex emitted crackling sounds of lightning. At the same time, a violent aura exploded in midair as if it was going to destroy the world. When Yichun saw this, he smiled coldly and shouted, "You're overestimating yourself." After Yichun finished speaking, he did not dodge. Instead, he raised his left hand and clenched it into a fist as he met the attack without hesitation. Boom! After a loud explosion that shook the heavens and earth, the two fists collided. At that moment, the air turned into countless ripples. Then, between the fists of Yichun and the tyrant demon god, the ripples exploded and spread into the distance. At the same time, violent hurricanes blew one after another. At this moment, a cry of agony was heard. Ah! The tyrant demon god, who was furious and majestic just a moment ago, was sent flying backward. In the blink of an eye, he was sent flying 20 feet away. Boom! The tyrant demon god stomped his right foot on the air. The moment the ripples appeared under his foot, his body stopped. At that moment, the tyrant demon god's entire right arm was hanging limply beside his body like a pendant
swaying back and forth with the wind. It was obvious that the tyrant demon god's arm had been crippled by Yi Chun when he clashed with Yi Chun just now. The tyrant demon god looked at his right arm that was still swaying in the wind and roared in disbelief. How? How? How was this possible? The tyrant demon god. From his name, it was not hard to tell that he was a cultivator who focused on refining his body. It could even be said that the tyrant demon god was most proud of his body, which was comparable to a Dharma treasure. Otherwise, he would not have called himself the tyrant demon god. In the past, the tyrant demon god could have relied on his physical body to become invincible among those of the same level. He could even challenge those of a higher level. But never in his wildest dreams would he have imagined that he would actually be defeated so thoroughly in a battle with this unknown Yi Chun. So easily. He originally thought that he could easily pinch a soft persimmon, but he couldn't even take a single blow from him. This was undoubtedly a heavy blow to the tyrant body demon god, who had always been high and mighty and considered himself a god. The tyrant demon god could not accept such an outcome no matter what. However, the cruel reality and his limp right arm had clearly told him one thing. What he thought was impossible was the truth. It was also at this moment that the tyrant demon god realized that when Yi Chun asked him if he had any last words, it was not out of contempt or mockery. Instead, it was because Yi Chun truly viewed him as an ant. Furthermore, Yi Chun really did have that kind of strength. Looking at the tyrant demon god's expression of disbelief, Yi Chun could not help but frown. This native god of the Empire of Southeast Asia was really something. He could actually take a punch with 20% of his strength and still survive. Yi Chun cultivated the 9 revolutions mystic art and had gone through multiple lightning tribulations. He forcefully intercepted the power of the lightning tribulations and used it to strengthen his body. Coupled with the support from the innate golden body of merit, Yi Chun's physical body had already reached an insane level. Purely based on physical strength, even an earth immortal would not dare to fight Yi Chun, let alone a worldly immortal. It was also because of this reason that Yi Chun purposely used 20% of his strength. He thought that he could kill the tyrant demon god in one hit. However, the result was beyond Yi Chun's expectations. The tyrant demon god did not die. He only lost his right arm. I wonder what this bastard's physique tempering technique is. It'd be great if it drops. Then I can teach it to my army. However, I still have to wait and see. If my army cultivates this physique tempering technique and becomes like the tyrant demon god, I might as well not cultivate it. It's 2F* king ugly. At this thought, Yi Chun looked directly at the tyrant demon god whose face was alternating between green and white. He said, "Didn't you want to kill me? Come, let's continue." After Yi Chun finished speaking, his body flashed, and he instantly appeared in front of the tyrant demon god. Don't come any closer." The tyrant demon god was now severely injured. He knew that he was no match for Yi Chun. How could he still dare to fight Yi Chun head-on? After the tyrant demon god screamed, he instantly fled far away as if he was avoiding the plague. At the same time, the tyrant demon god's voice was heard. "Little brother, please forgive me for offending you. I hope that you will be magnanimous and let me go. If you let me go, I swear that I will never set foot in this world again. You're already here, and you still want to go back?" Yi Chun curled his lips in disdain. After he finished speaking, his body flashed, and he once again chased after the tyrant demon god who was running away in a frenzy. Under normal circumstances, Yi Chun would not have let the tyrant demon god go. Moreover, the world announcement just now stated that the final reward for this quest would be based on the number of invading gods killed and their levels. It could be said that the tyrant demon god was currently a moving treasure trove. How could Yi Chun let him go? Seeing that Yi Chun was still unwilling to let him go, the tyrant demon god did not waste any more time and was about to fight with his life on the line. The next moment, he raised one of his hands, and an oval-shaped transparent territory immediately enveloped the tyrant demon god. After that, he took out a gigantic mace and charged at Yi Chun. "Brat, since you won't let me live, then we'll all die together."
In his despair, the tyrant demon god had completely lost his mind. The gigantic mace brought with it a horrifying wind that blew so hard that people could not open their eyes. In an instant, the weather changed, and a sandstorm rose. Even the sun was covered by thick, dark clouds. It was a hellish scene. Dying. In this horrifying scene, the tyrant demon god swung his mace and aimed it at Yi Chen's vitals. Boom! In the nick of time, Yi Chen did not retreat. Instead, he advanced and went against the momentum. An attack of this level could not threaten Yi Chen at all. How could Yi Chen possibly dodge it? Yi Chen's fist that had shattered the air and the sky and instantly created a thunderous boom. It was like a destructive weapon that landed directly on the mace. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion was instantly heard. Then, the tyrant demon god's mace flew out of the tyrant demon god's right hand. At the same time, the territory that surrounded the tyrant demon god was also shattered by Yi Chen's punch. The tyrant demon god was hit and fell from the sky like a kite with a broken string. In the next second, an extremely mournful howl followed closely behind. Arg! Chapter 11:20. Pain, excruciating pain, unbearable pain. That was how the tyrant demon god felt as he plummeted to the ground. The moment he was hit by Yi Chen, the tyrant demon god relived the feeling of being knocked away by a barbaric rhinoceros when he was a child. At that time, the tyrant demon god had experienced death. If he had not been lucky enough to fall into a spiritual fountain, he would have lost his life long ago. It was also because of that opportunity that the tyrant demon god rose up like a comet and became a powerhouse of the Empire of Southeast Asia. After countless years, he finally became the tyrant demon god and enjoyed the worship of the natives of the Empire of Southeast Asia. Now, the feeling of death that he had experienced all those years ago appeared once again. This time, it was even stronger and heavier. He really wanted to encounter the same opportunity that he had in the past and land in a special place. Then, he would recover from his injuries and rise up again. However, as a god of the Empire of Southeast Asia, he knew very well that there was no such thing as a miraculous place on the ground or even underground. Therefore, he could not repeat what he had experienced all those years ago and escape death. On the ground, the players from various countries who were watching the scene in the sky were all stunned. Then they all gasped. Yi Chen was very strong. The players from other countries already knew that Yi Chen was very strong. However, Yi Chen's strength had seriously exceeded their understanding. They did not know what level the tyrant demon god was at. However, they knew that he was definitely a terrifying existence that could easily kill everyone present. But it was precisely this kind of terrifying existence that was like a 3-year-old child in front of Yi Chen, being oppressed without the slightest strength to retaliate. Was Yi Chen even human? How could he be so strong? This was what all the players present were thinking at the same time. Ha ha! Yi Laoda is indeed the #1 god of war of the East. Even a god could only be beaten up by him. This is so King awesome. This is the first time I've seen Yi Laoda beat up a god. This is so King memorable. At this moment, the Chinese players were the happiest. Yi Chen's performance had made them straighten their backs in front of the foreign players. At the same time, the Eastern players who had bet with the American and Western continent players immediately began to urge them to pay up. Hey, what do you think? I said that Yi Laoda will win for sure, but you didn't believe me. 1,000 low-grade spirit stones. Hurry up and hand it over. What's there to be proud of? Here. Although the American players were heartbroken that they had lost the bet, they did not dare to go back on their word. They could only hand the spiritual stones over to the Eastern players. Ha ha ha, thanks a lot. You're welcome to give me money next time. My 100 low-grade spirit stones. My 50 yuan. My 150 yuan. The Eastern players who had won were all grinning from ear to ear. This was because there were many Western players who had placed bets on Yi Chen. The highest bet was 100,000 spiritual stones. In the end, it all benefited the Eastern players. Ha ha, Yi Lauda is mighty. All hail Yi Lauda. Amidst the cheers, Yi Chun descended from the sky and arrived in front of the tyrant demon god who was on his last breath. The tyrant demon god's cultivation had been completely destroyed by Yi Chun's punch. He was nearing the end of his life and was barely hanging on. He lay on the ground as blood and bits of his organs flowed out from the corner of his mouth. His eyes were filled with regret, hatred, and fear as he stared at Yi Chun. He regretted. He regretted coming to this godforsaken world. He regretted coming to this godforsaken place. He hated himself. He hated himself for being greedy for that little sacrifice. He did not do any research before coming to this place. He was afraid of death. He had not lived long enough. In the end, he was miserable. Yi Chun looked at the tyrant demon god who was on the verge of death. He then said, "Die." With that, Yi Chun raised his hand and was about to stab the tyrant demon god to death. At that moment, two gigantic figures suddenly appeared in midair. At the same time, a loud roar was heard. "Stop!" Yi Chun looked in the direction of the voice and realized that two equally black and extremely ugly men had appeared in the sky at the same time. One of them held a long spear, while the other held a long saber. The moment they appeared, they attacked Yi Chun from midair. "Damned little thief! How dare you hurt my brother? Die! Little bastard! How dare you hurt my brother to this extent? Today, I'll make sure you suffer a fate worse than death." The two extremely ugly black ghosts who had suddenly appeared carried a vicious aura as they attacked Yi Chun from both sides. The spear of the black ghost holding the spear gave off a boundless evil aura. It brought with it a horrifying cold wind that caused one's scalp to turn numb as it pierced towards Yi Chun's spear at an extremely fast speed. The violent attack brought with it countless gusts of wind. Wherever the long spear passed, the space would be torn apart. "Die!" Seeing that his attack was about to succeed, the black ghost's eyes shone with a gleeful light. He was delighted that he was about to get his revenge. As for the black ghost with the long saber, his attack was not inferior to the black ghost with the long spear at all. The long saber in his hand was like an upside-down galaxy, as it instantly unleashed a boundless and terrifying power. Buzz! As the saber flashed, it constantly emitted a loud, buzzing sound, causing everyone to feel uneasy. The saber changed continuously in midair and instantly tore through the void. Like a bright shooting star, it rapidly attacked Yi Chun's vital points. "Die!" The boundless saber light had sealed off all of Yi Chun's escape routes. The black ghost with the long saber finally revealed a smile. In his opinion, Yi Chun, who was being attacked from both sides, was definitely going to die. Seeing the terrifying attacks of these two people, the players for various countries were all stunned. Yi Lauda, be careful." Seeing that the situation was dire, an Eastern player hurriedly warned. "No!" An Eastern female player had already covered her eyes. She could not bear to see the tragic scene of Yi Chun being besieged to death. "Is he going to die just like that?" An Eastern player said in despair. Seeing that his idol was going to die prematurely, he could not accept it. "What a pity!" One of the American players sighed in excitement. "Our god of war of the East." An Eastern player lamented bitterly. Because Yi Chun was suddenly attacked, there were many who were shouting loudly. However, there were also many who were not shouting. Among these people, some had yet to recover from their shock, while some had their eyes shining brightly. It was obvious that these players who were looking at Yi Chun with strange gazes were looking forward to him being killed on the spot. Just when all the players at the scene thought that Yi Chun was going to die on the spot, Yi Chun's figure suddenly escaped into the void and disappeared without a trace. The two black ghosts who noticed this were stunned at first, and then they were shocked. Spatial ability. The ugly black ghost with the gun was the first to scream, as if he had seen a ghost. The other black ghost with the knife was also pale at this time, and cold sweat was dripping down his face. Why were they so afraid? It was very simple. Time was king, and space was supreme. Among all the major systems, time and space were the two most powerful systems. Moreover, there were very few people who could master these two systems. If they encountered someone who had time or space abilities, they might have a chance to fight against them if they were weak. However, if they wanted to kill the other party, they would not be able to do it unless they had the power to crush them. If he encountered someone who had the power of time or space and whose realm was not weak, then there was only one result. He would be tortured to death. Although these two black ghosts were the gods of the empire of Southeast Asia and belonged to the lower echelons of existence, they knew this. It was also because they knew this fact that their attitude changed instantly, and then it turned into fear. They did not expect that the person they were going to fight against would have space abilities. At this moment, the two black ghosts could not help but think that they should not have been greedy for such a small advantage. If there was a medicine for regret in the world, the two black ghosts would not hesitate to eat a big bowl of it, because at this moment, their intestines were green with regret. Among all the supernatural powers, space and time abilities were the two most domineering abilities. Even if they were casually released, they would still have power comparable to a supernatural power. Once they encountered such an enemy, and an enemy of the same realm, there was almost no chance of escaping. After the two black ghosts looked at each other, they shouted without hesitation, "Run separately." They wanted to run. They did not want to fight with Yi Chun, who had space abilities. However, it was too late. Just before they had time to do anything, the black ghost with the gun was suddenly pierced by the Godslayer from the back of his head. Bang! A sound was heard. The black ghost whose head was pierced by the Godslayer exploded directly, and then blood and flesh splattered all over the sky and fell to the ground with the wind. At the same time, the Godslayer flashed with black light, and then it swallowed the soul of the black ghost god. P.S. I recommend a good book, TikTok's Strongest Dad. Chapter 1121. The other black demon deity was scared out of his wits when he saw his comrade die. He might have felt that he had a chance to escape before, but now he didn't feel that way anymore. This was because he knew one thing for sure. He couldn't escape at all. Time was king. Space was just empty talk. A powerful being with the space element was not only difficult to deal with, but also extremely powerful. Against such a being, there was only a slim chance of survival. At this moment, the only remaining black ghost deity involuntarily had the thought of begging for mercy. However, before he could open his mouth, Yi Chun pierced his head with his spear. He couldn't be more dead. After killing the two tribulation stage black demons, Yi Chun landed again and finished off the tyrant demon god on the ground. After killing the three of them, Yi Chun obtained another 3 lottery dice. At the same time, he also obtained 3 weapons. One was a magic treasure spear, one was a magic treasure sword, and one was a magic treasure mace. Yi Chun threw these weapons to Guan Yu, Zhang Fei, and Zhao Yun. Although Yi Chun had the cauldron of heaven and earth and could strengthen the weapons, the problem was that he didn't know if it was because the deities of the empire of Southeast Asia were crippled. The magic treasures that they dropped all had attributes that couldn't be strengthened. Otherwise, Yi Chun would have thrown these magic treasures into the cauldron of heaven and earth and strengthened them, turning them into godly artifacts. In the next second, after Yi Chun threw the magic treasures to Guan Yu, Zhang Fei, and Zhao Yun, the world announcement sounded again. Ding! Player Yi Chun has killed 3 tribulation stage deities from the outer domain. Special reward: X 15,000 innate attribute points. Providence X 300,000 points. X 30,000 supreme grade spiritual stones. X *** innate merit points. At the same time, a notification sounded in Yi Chun's mind. Ding! Currently, the number of invading deities eliminated. 4. The final reward for the deity invasion mission will be based on the number and level of the deities killed. Please continue to work hard and keep up the good work. Hearing the system prompt, Yi Chun nodded in satisfaction. I wonder what the final reward will be. Just as Yi Chun thought of this, the world channel exploded. Fierce, truly fierce. It's not just any ordinary ferocious. Yeah, Yi Lao is definitely the fiercest man in the East, in the world. These are extraterrestrial gods, And he killed 4 of them so casually? Just how many gods would he need to kill for this quest? Wouldn't Yi Chun earn a lot of money again? What? Jealous? If you don't like it, you could do it too. Go hammer, go. Why don't you go? The spectating players from various countries all looked at them with envy and jealousy. This was a god-slaying battle. Although they really wanted to go up and take a share of the loot, their strength was there for all to see. Whether they wanted to or not, they had to give up on this idea in the end. At this moment, the players from various countries all had the same thought in their minds. That was the only person in the world who had the ability to complete this plot quest was Yi Chen alone. Just as the players from various countries were admiring Yi Chen's simple and brutal way of killing the invading deities, a deafening beast roar suddenly sounded in midair. Roar! At the same time, a tyrannical aura directly exploded in midair and overturned the sea of clouds in the sky. Another one. Thinking of this, Yi Chen looked up directly. He saw that a ferocious beast that was hundreds of meters long had appeared in the sky. Its whole body was blood red, and its whole body was covered with hard scales that shone with a dark red brilliance. Its head was like a lion's, and it looked extremely ferocious. At this moment, this ferocious beast was staring at Yi Chen with a pair of huge blood-red eyes. Along with the ferocious beast's gaze was an overwhelming tyrannical aura. At this moment, the players from various countries on the ground were directly pressed down by the tyrannical aura emitted by the ferocious beast. Some of them even knelt on the ground. F***CK, what kind of monster is this? It's just releasing its aura, and it feels like it's going to kill us. Mother F***Ker, this F***King ferocious beast just appeared, and it's already trying to intimidate me. Boss Yi Chun, kill this stupid ferocious beast. Although I feel a little uncomfortable, I have to say that I haven't seen such a big scene until now. I've really enjoyed watching it today. Get ready. If Yi Chen dies, we'll rush up immediately. The players on the ground were talking one after another, and it was very lively, just as the players were struggling to get up one after another. The ferocious beast in the sky roared again. Roar! At this moment, the air was turbulent, and the ground was shaking. While all the players were being shaken to the ground, a ferocious beast with boundless killing intent leaped down from the sky and pounced towards Yi Chen. Yi Chen smiled coldly as he looked at the ferocious beasts that were charging at him. Then, he shouted, "Reckless be ***starred. Die for me." As soon as Yi Chen finished his sentence, he stabbed the God Slayer in his right hand at the ferocious beast without hesitation. Bang! The air was pierced by the black tip of the God Slayer's spear. Then, sparks appeared on the tip of the God Slayer's spear. In the blink of an eye, the sparks became denser and denser, and then turned into a ball of fire. Yi Chen didn't use any fire elemental spells, nor did he use the True Sun Fire, True Moon Fire, or Red Lotus Fire. The flames on the tip of the God Slayer's spear were caused by Yi Chen's extreme speed, which was faster than a meteor, and it caused the air to explode. Just as Yi Chen stabbed out with the God-slaying spear, the ferocious beast that saw the God-slaying spear stabbing towards itself waved its huge claws in the air and slapped the God-slaying spear's shaft with incredible speed. The God Slayer, which was hit by the claws, was knocked out of its attack trajectory and flew to the side. At the same time, a crimson shadow flashed across the sky. Then, a huge crimson claw slashed down on Yi Chen's head. When it was close to its target, the ferocious beast's claws suddenly exploded with terrifying power. It was as though it was going to tear the sky apart. The sharp claws flashed with a cold light as they streaked across the sky, causing the air to distort. An Eastern female player couldn't control her nervousness when she saw the ferocious beast attack and let out an ear-piercing scream. Just as the ferocious beast's claws were about to touch Yi Chen's body, it realized that the prey in front of it had suddenly disappeared. The ferocious beast was caught off guard and directly crashed into the ground. Boom! A huge boom was heard, followed by a series of tremors. The ferocious beast didn't manage to hit its target, so it performed a dog choking on feces on the spot. Its head landed intimately on the ground, and it was dizzy from the fall. I didn't expect this beast to be so capable. Yi Chun had returned to the sky at this time. He looked down at the unknown, ferocious beast on the ground with a hint of surprise in his eyes. After a brief exchange with this ferocious beast just now, he realized that it was at least at the early stage of the human immortal realm. At this time, the huge, ferocious beast had already struggled to stand up from the ground. It looked up at the sky and let out a deafening roar at the human who made it so miserable just now. Roar. The huge beast's roar directly tore the air apart. Then, the players on the ground covered their ears in pain. Obviously, the ferocious beast's roar had the attribute of a sound wave attack. Otherwise, such a situation wouldn't have happened. Just as the players were in pain, the ferocious beast's hind legs suddenly stomped on the ground. Then, the ferocious beast's body was seen shooting into the sky like a cannonball. At the same time, the ferocious beast's right front claw swiped at Yi Chun even more fiercely. This time, the ferocious beast's attack was even fiercer. Its blood-red claws were not only more violent, but they also carried a little bit of the power of law. Noticing this, Yi Chun instantly frowned. Damn, a human immortal ferocious beast could actually use the power of law. This guy was really a little king perverted. If one wanted to control the power of law, they basically had to start as a heaven immortal. If a human immortal wanted to control the power of law, it was basically a dream. Otherwise, Yi Chun wouldn't have thought this way. So what if it's a pervert? If it wants to rely on this little power of law to defeat me, it's wishful thinking. Yi Chun had refined the space origin and the lightning origin. The power of law that he controlled far exceeded that of a golden immortal. Choo-choo, a ferocious beast that only understood a little bit of the power of law, could not cause any harm to Yi Chun at all. It couldn't be helped. In a battle of the power of law, it depended on who understood more, who controlled more, and who had a higher ranking of the power of law. Then, who had a higher ranking of the power of law? Without a doubt, it was Yi Chun, because time was king and space was supreme. Space was the strongest existence, and the lightning origin was not weak either. Otherwise, the countless mighty figures in the Eldritch world would not be afraid of heavenly punishment. If Yi Chun controlled the lightning origin to a certain extent, it would directly become heavenly punishment. Therefore, the ferocious beast that suddenly descended was completely incomparable to Yi Chun. Thinking of this, Yi Chun suddenly tightened the Godslayer in his right hand, and then stabbed it at the ferocious beast that was rapidly coming again. At this moment, the Godslayer, in the blink of an eye, transformed into a sky full of spear light. Yi Chun had comprehended the reincarnation spear art long ago, but had not used it for a long time. At this moment, it was directly used by Yi Chun. Buzz, buzz, buzz. After an incomparably dense burst of air-breaking sounds, a poochie sound was heard. The sky full of spear shadows disappeared in an instant, and the black and thick Godslayer directly pierced through the ferocious beast's huge claw. Ow! The ferocious beast, whose front claw was pierced, immediately let out an extremely shrill and miserable howl. At this moment, the long-lost feeling of death involuntarily appeared in the ferocious beast's heart. How could it be? How could it be? How could an ant that has not yet transcended the tribulation to become an immortal hurt me? Just as the ferocious beast thought of this, the black and thick Godslayer suddenly flashed, and the God-slaying characteristic was instantly activated. At this moment, the ferocious beast's immortal soul suddenly trembled, and then rushed at the Godslayer with incomparable speed. Sensing this, the ferocious beast's eyes suddenly shrank. Danger! Thinking of this, the ferocious beast did not hesitate to self-detonate its front claw. With a bang sound, the sky was instantly filled with pieces of flesh and blood, and then splashed into the distance with a whoosh sound. Run! It must run away immediately. In an instant, the ferocious beast felt that it was on the brink of death, and it fled without hesitation. Killing Yi Chun and capturing him with ease was all nonsense. The ferocious beast was now sure of one thing, And that was that the Godslayer in Yi Chen's right hand was a F***king, great killing weapon. If it was not a primordial treasure, it was a supreme-grade primordial spiritual treasure. Otherwise, it would not have been able to completely obliterate it after one stab. Seeing the ferocious beast that did not hesitate to self-detonate its front claw and then run away madly, Yi Chen was slightly stunned and then burst out shouting, "Evil beast! Where do you think you're going?" Yi Chen would not let a mobile treasure trove escape so easily. Not to mention that this mobile treasure trove had freaking attacked him before. After saying this, Yi Chen's body instantly disappeared into the void. In the next second, Yi Chen appeared directly in the ferocious beast's path of escape, blocking its way. Just as Yi Chen was about to strike and kill the ferocious beast, an extremely angry voice suddenly rang out. "Damn thief! How dare you injure my mount? Hand over your life." That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.